Welcome to Fanfiction Audiobooks. Marvel, Superman Survival Guide. Chapter 41. Just for a title. All of them were hit, either in the throat or in the heart, and everyone who was hit was killed, regardless of whether they were wearing bulletproof suits or not. Link's body moved at the same time. He jumped to the right and hid directly behind a pillar. He reached his hands behind him and grabbed another throwing knife. Did he use a throwing knife? No, but Link can still hit accurately, relying on the biological force field. Superman has a biological stance and can wrap up anything, including large vehicles like airplanes and ships, and even small throwing knives. The temporary extension distance was not far because he did not use it much, but when he returned home today and checked the armory, he found that he did not want to use these weapons. They were all brought back from the S.H.I.E.L.D. branch and there are records in S.H.I.E.L.D. Link thought about it and finally gave up. Then he needed new weapons. Either go to Hell's Kitchen to find a batch, or use other weapons. At this time, he thought of the biological stand. He tried it at home. The kitchen utensils at home had been fully equipped by Jessica. He randomly picked up a fruit knife to try it out, and it worked. So he went to customize a batch of willow leaf throwing knives. This is not telekinesis, so he cannot use the biological force field to recover the flying knife. He can only continue to consume it and use the biological force field to maintain accuracy, but he is not lacking in strength. The only trouble is that the throwing knives are consumed too quickly, so more will need to be made in the future, and special equipment will be needed to load them. After Link hit in the cover, he did not stop. He instantly ran out from the other side of the pillar and kept moving. The killer's position did not escape his eyes. He waved his hands continuously and began to reap the flying knives one by one. On the terrace garden, Winston looked at the time. 5 minutes had passed and the gunfire seemed to have stopped. At this time, Karen's phone rang. He picked it up quickly, then a surprised expression appeared on his face. He turned around and said, "Sir, all the killers on the first floor have been killed. That man is coming up." Winston was equally surprised, while Santino was horrified. He shouted, "This is impossible. Nothing is impossible." Winston calmed down a little. "Do any of our guests want to participate?" "No sir, the guests who booked the room didn't care about the $300,000, so they plan to watch the show from the beginning," said Karen. Saint Dino immediately said, "I can increase it to 1 million. It's too late." Winston shook his head, looked at Santino and said, "Now it depends on your manpower." Bang bang! At this moment, fierce gunshots were heard at the entrance of the terrace, and then after just a dozen seconds, it became quiet again, and a figure appeared at the entrance. Link walked in leisurely, holding 2 throwing knives in his right hand. He smiled and said, "There aren't many people here. This amount of power is too weak. It can't even hold out for 10 minutes. Link looked dissatisfied. "This makes my path to fame a little less dazzling." Winston said gently, "Mr. Lin is already dazzling enough, but now the problem comes. You have offended not only the Continental Hotel in New York, but the entire high table. Perhaps you don't quite understand what this means. We'll tell you later who I offended. Now I need to talk to Mr. Santino Antonio." Link turned and looked at the culprit. "Is it because you lost face?" Saint Dino understood what Link meant, and he immediately said, "I can give you money, I can cancel the bounty." "No, no, no, you don't understand. You broke the rules. Matters at the gambling table should be resolved at the gambling table, but you actually hired a killer. You make me very troubled, you know. You think you are so powerful that you can reap other people's lives at will, but now your life is in my hands. Of course, you can try to pull out your gun." Link smiled, but Saint Dino looked very frightened. It was like the smile of a devil, tempting this mortal to hand over his soul. "It seems you don't dare." Link's tone was full of disappointment. Swish! A flying knife shot out and then pierced into Santino's throat. Link walked over, then took out a mobile phone, checked the phone book, found old Antonio's number, and called it directly. "Hello." Old Antonio was ready to rest at this time. When he saw that the caller was his son, he thought he wanted to show off. "Mr. Antonio, your son has paid the price, now you need to pay the price." Link said. "What?" Old Antonio was stunned. "Where's my son? There's a flying knife stuck in his throat and a terrified look on his face. He doesn't look that peaceful." Link gave a brief introduction. Whether it was old Antonio or Winston and Karen on the side, they did not expect that Link would be so rampant. Since you have already killed him, can't the matter be over now? Old Antonio was suffering from a terminal illness at this time, and he didn't have much time left. Compared to his disappointed son, he cared more about his daughter. In addition, it now seems that the Continental Hotel in New York has failed, otherwise his son would not have died. The next issue is the high table, which he does not need to face alone. Of course, things on the gambling table should have been resolved on the gambling table. You broke the rules. Link said, now I ask you to gamble with me again in Las Vegas. This time I ask for 100 million yuan. You can disagree, but then the entire Antonio family will be on my hunting list. Don't count on your so-called high table. I know yours is made up of 12 criminal groups around the world. There is an elder above you, and there are more than a dozen continental hotels around the world. Your strength is just like that. If you make me angry, I will wipe out all of you. Old Antonio was stunned. Was the other party arrogant? At least, what the other party said has come true, such as the Continental Hotel in New York. Who are you? Asked old Antonio. Link whispered, I am who I am. I'm just a professional gambler. You don't need to be afraid of anything because I am enough on my own. If I can kill all 12 directors of the high table and eliminate the forces behind you, do you think I will have a resounding title? Chapter 42 Agreement. Are you doing this just for a title? Old Antonio asked in disbelief. How is that possible? Link said angrily, it was your son who provoked me. I must let people know that I am someone who cannot be offended. What if it appears again next time? To put it bluntly, you are just a chicken that was killed to make the monkeys that may appear in the future behave themselves. Do you understand? You. Old Antonio didn't expect that his son would be ruined like this. Okay, I promise you, I'll be in Las Vegas tomorrow night, in the same casino, I'll wait for you. Very good, you can prepare as many people as possible, including the so-called high table. There are fewer people there, and we can kill as much as we want and see who falls in the end. Link said happily. Then he hung up the phone, looked at Winston, and said, now, you can call the so-called high table and gather your people for a gamble and a fight in Las Vegas tomorrow. Link then stood up and walked out, completely ignoring Winston and Karen. Winston frowned and looked at Karen, take someone to clean up, we have to open tomorrow morning. Yes, sir. Karen turned around and went out to clean up, while Winston took out his phone and dialed directly. Many people at the high table were called up by the phone, and then listened in shock as Winston told a story about a Chinese man who used a flying knife to kill people at the Continental Hotel in New York. A group of assassins and Santino's bodyguards were all killed, including Santino himself. The other side declared war on their entire high table. It was a gamble, a battle. So what should they do next? Saint Dino broke the rules, and no one cared about his death, but he also violated the first iron rule of the Continental Hotel, killing is prohibited in the Continental Hotel. Moreover, they came to the door with advance notice. If we don't deal with it, the mainland hotel will lose its deterrent effect. You must fight. They immediately started mobilizing manpower. Link's performance was a little strange. Was the flying knife alone so powerful? Collect his information immediately. However, there is not much information about Link. He used to be a policeman in New York. The first time he fired a gun, he shot and killed more than 20 people, and every shot was a headshot. No wonder the other party had a regretful tone. He really could use a gun. Then the high table must prepare a group of elite troops, and the number of people must not be too small, and the action cannot be carried out in a casino hotel. The forces in Las Vegas are equally powerful, even stronger than their high-end tables. Behind every hotel there is a group of shareholders, and they cannot afford to offend them. You can only wait until the game is over and the other party comes out before taking action. The high table has always emphasized iron rules, and Las Vegas also has its iron rules. Link called Jessica early the next morning and told her that he had a big poker game and asked her to stay at Tracy's house and not go out for the time being. Link was not worried about Jessica's safety. After all, if high table really threatened him with a woman, he would just go berserk. His super hearing, once turned on to full power, can monitor the entire world. He couldn't use flying knives this time. After all, the other side should have a lot of people, and he couldn't do it in Las Vegas, as that would offend various forces in the gambling city. The time in the evening was just right, and after the gambling was over, he would drive to the desert and deal with all the killers there. Las Vegas, the last time at the casino hotel, Link arrived in Las Vegas with a super big bag. This time he used a special certificate. The news of the underground world spread quickly, they got the information early, this time they dared not underestimate Link, he was a killing god. Of course, what they valued most was the gambling in the evening. Link was sent directly to the most luxurious room where he could have a good rest. Even the meals were delivered directly by the hotel. The gambling started at 8 o'clock in the evening. A lot of people came, including all 12 directors at the high table. They were very curious about Link. Entering the VIP box, Link selected some cigars and bourbon, then sat down. Old Antonio opposite him looked very unhappy. Link smiled and said, "How many people are prepared? Let's solve it once and for all. Don't keep dragging it out. I don't like it. This is your last chance. If I win, the high table must compensate me. If not, then I will start a killing spree." The 12 directors all raised their eyebrows, their faces full of anger, but a very young white man stood up and said, "I am Greymont, the CEO of the high table. We have prepared 300 elite soldiers for Mr. Linear. Is Mr. Lin satisfied?" Link looked at him and said, "Not very satisfied. Is this all the manpower you have? It's 8 o'clock now. After the game starts, you have 4 hours to prepare before midnight. You can gather as many people as possible. I will leave the hotel in an off-road vehicle at exactly midnight and head for the desert. After all, this is Las Vegas. I'm a professional gambler and I have to make a living here. 10 kilometers from here, we'll start the battle, and the victor will walk out of the desert." Greymont frowned. Was the other party setting an ambush? However, he had already sent people to keep an eye on it, and no large number of armed personnel came to Las Vegas, whether from the air or on land. "Yes," Greymont said. "We agree. Okay, if I come out, will the high table agree to compensation and end the conflict?" Link asked again, "What is the specific amount of compensation? You seem to think you have won." Greymont asked, "You have ambushed people in the desert." "No, there is only one person. All the weapons are here." Link opened the backpack at his feet and showed it. There were guns inside. "When the time comes, you can deal with the body by yourselves. The result will be clear at a glance. I need to ask for instructions." Greymont could no longer make the decision. "Okay, let's start." Link looked at Old Antonio. Old Antonio said, "Well, I know how powerful you are, but I also know your weaknesses. I go all in every time. We're betting on luck." Link was stunned for a moment, then he laughed and said, "In this case, the time is too hard to endure, and it lacks fun. This is my only chance." Old Antonio had consulted Wilson Fisk before. Wilson Fisk got a lot of benefits, otherwise he wouldn't say it. Link made up a weakness of his own in the first big poker game. Chapter 43 Beginning and End. Let's start. Link looked at the cards. Judging from the order in which the dealer dealt the cards, he had a big hand this time, and Old Antonio couldn't cheat. It was not bad to end it in the first round. Old Antonio used $100 million in cash, and Link used Stark Industries stocks, which are now worth more than $90 million. Together with his own cash, it is exactly 100 million. Both parties have put out real money. So it's better to end it in one go and put the money in pocket. Link didn't even flip the cards. It seemed that everyone was betting on luck. The final win or loss depended on luck. This bet involved a fund of 200 million yuan, which was really hard to imagine. Sure enough, Link won, he had 2 pair, while old Anthony had nothing. Link laughed and said, "It seems that luck is on my side. So tonight I am destined to be the last one to go." He turned to look at Greymont and asked, "What's going on?" "Okay, if you come out alive, then everything will be over, and we will compensate you $10 billion. Greymont's words stunned the 12 directors. "Why so much?" Link nodded slightly and said, "Yes, your elders are wise. After all, if I win, you will lose at least 300 elite soldiers. I guess these are your most powerful and well-equipped direct gunners. Once you fail, the high table will be very weak. You need to be on guard against your opponent. If I attack again, you might really be finished. But I don't like trouble. This result is not bad. You can give me $1 billion through the casino as the funds I won today." The total is 1.1 billion US dollars. Link turned to look at the casino manager, who immediately said, "No problem at all. We are happy to help you. Okay, just wait." Link leaned back, holding a bottle of wine, smoking a cigar, with his feet on the gambling table, swinging leisurely. Time seemed to pass very slowly, but Greymont had already sent out helicopters and personnel to search the surrounding desert, but there was no sign of anyone at all. Greymont left the VIP box and waited outside for a call from the search team. Nothing was found in any direction, so he felt relieved. But then he felt incredible. How could this guy win? When midnight came, Link stood up, picked up his backpack and walked out. "Please prepare a fully fueled off-road vehicle for me." "Okay, Mr. Lin." An SUV of the hotel quickly stopped outside the main entrance. When Link walked out, someone handed him the key. Link got in the car, put his backpack on the passenger seat, checked the vehicle, and started it. He opened the car window, stretched out his left hand, raised it and shook it, then stepped on the accelerator and started off. Drive along the road towards the outside of the city. Once you are out of the city, immediately turn on the hazard lights and step on the accelerator to the bottom. Behind him, there was a long convoy of more than 100 cars, and a helicopter following behind. As Link was driving, he suddenly turned the steering wheel and the car rushed directly into the desert on one side of the road, then drove deep into the desert. All the vehicles followed closely behind, forming a long dragon of lights. The helicopter did not rise too high because the desert was pitch black. Once Link turned off the lights, they would instantly lose each other's trace. Link looked at the distance, driving the off-road vehicle up and down in the desert. The distance of 10 kilometers was not so easy to reach. But he still had to get there. The team behind him had already notified everyone through the intercom to prepare for battle. Link looked ahead and saw the tallest sand dune, which was exactly his goal. He stepped on the accelerator to the bottom and rushed directly towards the dune. When he passed the highest point, he turned off the hazard lights and all the lights. And suddenly he seemed to disappear. At the same time, Link opened the car door and jumped out with his backpack. After landing, he turned to the sand dune, took a deep breath, and then blew it suddenly. "Hey!" Suddenly, strong winds blew the sand dunes, and yellow sand filled the sky and rushed towards the convoy behind. The helicopter was suddenly hit by strong airflow and had no time to react, so it crashed down. Link activated his top speed and rushed forward following the yellow sand. He put the big bag on his back and took out a submachine gun. He got these weapons from S.H.I.E.L.D. After Link killed everyone, he still had time to return to his SUV and held the steering wheel with both hands again. The car did not lose control. He drove slowly and started to circle. It would be too shocking to return now. He blew the sand just now to cover up his superpowers. No matter what equipment the other party brought or the satellite in the sky, they would not be able to see anything. Link was very careful. He drove to a place sheltered from the wind, lay down, and slowly fell asleep. It was not until his biological clock woke him up that he started the car again and returned the way he came. When he appeared outside Las Vegas, the city was boiling. Based on the principle that everything can be gambled, the Las Vegas market opened last night with hundreds of people betting, which aroused the interest of many people. Of course, no one believed that Link could come back alive, so his odds were extremely high, to an absurd degree. But most of them bet on Link's death. After all, this was free money. When Link came back, everyone was dumbfounded, especially the directors of the high table. They had not expected that Greymont had been calling last night, and the last news was that they were about to reach a distance of 10 kilometers. Then, no news came back, and Greymont didn't send anyone to look for him because the casino wouldn't allow it. To prevent them from cheating, even the high tables must abide by the rules here. Link returned to the hotel, but when he saw too many people at the door, he immediately turned around and went into the underground parking lot. The hotel staff immediately understood, and the security in the underground parking lot took immediate action to prevent anyone from harassing Link. The next day Link returned to New York. When he came back, he was a real billionaire. This time there was some risk of being exposed, but it was not a big problem. The strong wind he created and the yellow sand in the sky blocked everything. As soon as Link came back, he received a call from Phil Coulson. "Lin, you are really amazing. Nothing surprising, just a small conflict." Link's mouth couldn't help but curl up. "By the way, can I have my own title?" "Of course, now everyone outside calls you the Grim Reaper," Coulson said, why didn't you come to me for this matter? Chapter 44 Death. Coulson, didn't the director want me to hide myself? Link said, I'm hiding well now, and no one will bother me in the future. At the same time, there may be some unexpected effects, but they cannot be seen now. Okay, you're right, but how did you do it? Coulson believed that even Hawkeye and Black Widow could not face an armed force of more than 300 people at the same time. A remote-controlled bomb lifted up the sand dunes, and the yellow sand became my best cover. Link said, and the desert can bury everything. They will never know how I did it. Smart move. Coulson suddenly realized that this was the right thing to say, but he didn't expect Link's combat ability to be so strong. It seems that I can ask the technical staff of the Bureau to develop some good equipment for you to place your weapons. That's a good suggestion. Link's eyes lit up. How are your things going? We've almost done it, and we're about to take action. Besides, the other party can't wait either, so I'll act right away. Coulson and the others were indeed planning to take action, and with the constant urging of the Hand and the Council, Fisk's life wasn't easy either. After all, Daredevil never intended to give up and kept interfering with his business. The more anxious he was, the easier it would be to be exposed. So S.H.I.E.L.D. found a lot of clues and connected the Hand and the Society together. So the action began, without any disturbance. So what if there were a few old monsters who had lived for hundreds of years? S.H.I.E.L.D.'s equipment is not exaggerated, but Coulson felt like he was doing the director's private work, and a large amount of funds flowed into the secret account. Link didn't know all this. He had been very free these days. After Jessica came back, she exploited Link madly. She was really scared. The training these few days has been crazy. She has made rapid progress and can control her strength well. However, during the intense exercise with Link, she still will not take the initiative because she is worried that she still cannot control her strength. Link could only put himself in a difficult position for the time being and work harder. Hey, Link. Dr. Bruce Banner was very happy to see Link. I can almost control it. Really? Link was a little surprised, but when he thought about it, it made sense. As long as Bruce accepted Hulk, it would be easy to communicate with him. After all, that was him. However, according to Hulk's situation, that was Bruce as a child. Yes, you are right. That was the angry me when I was a kid. Bruce looked in good spirits. That's good. Link nodded slightly, but I think it's best not to merge you two again. Bruce was stunned and asked, why? Because once you merge, Hulk's power will be weakened. Link said, I think you should take some time now to learn various fighting techniques to adapt to Hulk's fighting style. If I'm not mistaken, Hulk's fighting style is too childish. It's just simple anger and smashing things. Yes. Bruce said, I transformed a few times, and now I can see everything Hulk does. There is really no technique. That's right. Learning how to fight is very important for both you and Hulk. The point is that you are a genius, so I believe it won't be difficult to learn. Link said, now you don't even need a psychological evaluation. Instead, you need to see the future path clearly for yourself. The future path. Bruce frowned and fell into deep thought, but soon he looked at Link and asked, you said that the future will require Hulk's fighting power. It's not just Hulk's fighting power, it's also your wisdom. Link reminded, if you and Hulk become one, then you will become weaker. You must know that General Ross will not give up easily. Once you become weak, you will no longer be a match for the military, unless you are willing to join S.H.I.E.L.D., which I don't think you are willing to do. This. Bruce didn't expect that S.H.I.E.L.D. would not recruit him. You won't recruit me. No, the matters we are dealing with now can be handled by S.H.I.E.L.D., and those that S.H.I.E.L.D. cannot handle require the activation of special mechanisms. I am not clear about this. Link spread his hands, I am only a level 6 agent, and I was promoted exceptionally because of my disguised identity. I need to collect intelligence on my own to see who has the alien items. Any alien items are dangerous to us, and the danger is unknown. This aspect consumes most of the Bureau's energy. A large number of agents are scattered all over the world, deeply involved in every aspect of human beings. Stop the crisis before it happens, because the technology of alien objects is far beyond ours. Bruce sighed and said, it seems that you are right. I really can't merge with Hulk. He should exist. Don't worry, I will learn. Great, let's take a look at what you have been doing recently. The two chatted for most of the day. Bruce was indeed bored alone, but Link still left before dinner. He has to rush back home at night. 1.1 billion in funds, but Link can't find Langley anymore. What this guy did was discovered by Fisk, and his firm is now in a panic, but fortunately there are other shareholders. However, Link also ended his commission and transferred the financial matters to the foundation. After all, this was his foundation. He invested the funds into it, and Link himself served as the investment director, purchasing Stark Industries shares again. However, the amount of funds this time was quite huge, and he also acquired some shares of Hammer Industries at the same time, mainly because the stock price of Hammer Industries was low enough and there was not much room for decline. The two stocks are like two extremes, and the military will not allow Stark Industries to dominate the market alone, so Link is not worried about Hammer Industries going bankrupt. The funds are safe for the time being, and Link can wait until the big event starts before selling the stocks. After all, Tony Stark will be missing for a while. Jessica was so surprised to see such a huge amount of money that she couldn't close her mouth. She now imagined that Link was worried about her safety for such a huge poker game, so he made the matter smooth over. Link didn't go into too much detail, but he was now a well-known figure in the underground world, with the nickname of the God of Death. Of course, people also know that as long as you don't provoke him, no matter what the problem is, things on the gambling table will be resolved at the gambling table. Las Vegas highly respects this. Chapter 45 Giving Advice. Fisk felt very strange. Suddenly, the people from the Hand and the Society disappeared. His pressure disappeared at once. He had the final say in Hell's Kitchen. However, he also couldn't get the funds and power of the Hand, but he had already controlled Hell's Kitchen, and all the gangs were afraid of him, Fisk. Instantly he felt relieved, but a problem loomed before him: what to do with the land and real estate he had acquired before. His wish was indeed to transform Hell's Kitchen, which would involve huge profits, but he alone could not support it, and what about the large number of poor people? It's not that he is kind, but these people are unwilling to move away. After all, no one is stupid. Fisk felt relieved on the one hand and difficult on the other. In this strange situation, he invited Link. After all, he had heard about Link's affairs and he had betrayed Link before. Vanessa invited Link, and Link brought Jessica to the dinner, which was held in a high-end restaurant that Fisk had booked. "Lin, there are things I need to apologize to you for," Fisk said. "I know, but it's not an exaggeration." "And Fisk, how do you know that it's not a weakness I deliberately exposed?" Link winked at Fisk. Fisk was stunned for a moment, then burst into laughter and said, "I understand. Every time you play a game, you can make plans for the next one. If I could afford you, I would really like to invite you to join us." "Oh, you mean the renovation of Hell's Kitchen?" Link asked. "Yes, my previous partner suddenly left, which put me in a dilemma." Fisk said, "Now I have no idea whether I can continue. So let's analyze it. Your current difficulties are funding and the poor people in Hell's Kitchen?" Link asked. "Yes, before, I thought about directly purchasing most of the land and property rights here, and then rebuilding this place to make it prosperous as well. Fisk's ambitions are good, and he has the means, but the Hand and the Society are not meant to rebuild this place, but to destroy it. This is contradictory, so Fisker won't be smooth from the beginning." Link laughed and said, "Fisk, this isn't difficult." "Really?" Fisk was stunned. Vanessa also hurriedly said, "Link, please help Wilson." "Of course." Link raised his glass and said, "I used to be a policeman here, I know this place, and I know what Fisk does. Let's have a drink first." "There's no rush for this." The other three raised their glasses. After the four of them clinked their glasses, they each took a sip. Link then said again, "First of all, you have to look at these poor people separately. Some of them are lonely elderly people who rely on meager incomes to survive, so you can't drive them away. If you use force, Daredevil won't let you go, right?" "Yes." Fisk admitted readily. This was a big problem. "In my opinion, it's not difficult. You can run 1 or 2 large nursing homes as a charity." Link said, "You sign a nursing contract with them and take charge of their nursing care issues, then this problem will be solved. Even more, this is your social image, and Vanessa is an art dealer and can hold charity events. For example, some talented painters who cannot make it big can be brought over. It will be very helpful to Vanessa's career and your social status, and it can even help you avoid taxes. Don't forget about taxes." The IRS doesn't care who you are, and a charitable foundation is a very good choice. Fisk's eyes lit up. There were indeed many benefits, and it could solve a lot of problems, especially the issue of social status. He wanted others to respect him. Another thing is that he cares about Vanessa the most, so he can help Vanessa instead of spending his own money to buy those paintings, which is what Vanessa hates the most. Vanessa's eyes also lit up. After they were together, Vanessa encouraged her man to stand out and be in the public eye. This woman's ambition is no less than Fisk's, otherwise she would not have chosen this man. This man is dangerous enough. Link added, the remaining group are the ones who have no money. You can build a batch of low-rent apartments and then exchange contracts with them. The rent is the same as before, and it's a new house, so they are naturally happy, but it's your apartment. You make the decision, for example, drug addicts, criminals, these people, you can send them to drug rehabilitation center or still hand them over to the police. It's not a breach of contract and it cleans up your apartment so that honest people can continue to live there. This will save a lot of apartments and reduce the number of troublesome people. It doesn't violate any laws or even principles. Daredevil has no reason to bother you again. Of course, all of this costs money, but there are many docks here. You can set up a transport team, and all the cargo ships arriving at the port will be unloaded and transported by your people, which can provide a large number of jobs. This can make money, and it can also make a large number of workers obey your orders. Fisk clapped his hands and said, that's a great idea, but the financial pressure will be great. Fisk, don't think about making a quick buck. You can develop the land piece by piece. This is your territory. Link reminded him, how much is the annual income of an office building? In cooperation with the charity fund, you can take your time to determine your tax-free amount. No one else can come in here because you have the final say, so you don't need to rush. Of course, reducing the crime rate here is equally important, as I'm sure you understand. Fisk asked doubtfully, Lin, why did you choose to help me? Because this is New York. Is everything peaceful once you leave Hell's Kitchen? Link asked back, before you came, it was a melee. After you came, there was some order, although this order is also full of sin. But at least not so many people will die. I have no choice. So I can only choose you. At least there will be some order. Fisk understood and said, I never hide my actions. In order to achieve my goals, necessary means are indispensable. You know this too. Of course, that's why I said this. You can do two things at the same time. On the one hand, develop large office buildings and high-end apartments, and on the other hand, start charity work. Link finally reminded. Chapter 46 moves quickly. The reason why Link gave advice to Wilson Fisk was not because he was optimistic about him or hoped to cooperate with him, but because he knew that crime could not be curbed in New York. Even if one of him is defeated, there are still countless criminals coming to divide up the territory he left behind. How much can one daredevil do? S.H.I.E.L.D. won't care about the little things in Hell's Kitchen. Even if Link takes action on his own, how much can he accomplish? Instead of doing this, it is better to let the other party get on the right track. This is the best solution Link can think of. He can't do anything else. Besides, it's none of his business whether this place is in chaos or not. Wilson Fisk was very happy. He asked, Lin, do you want to join us? Link shook his head and said, I used all my money to buy shares. I don't want to get involved in the operation. I just hope New York can be more peaceful. It's up to you how to do it. This is a long-term undertaking that requires military support, but it doesn't rely entirely on force. Vanessa is your good helper. I believe you know what to do. Everything depends on the future. After dinner, Link and Jessica left, and Fisk and Vanessa returned home, both of them very excited. Wilson, I feel like Lin has been reminding you. Vanessa didn't change her clothes, but went to pour 2 glasses of wine. After Wilson took it, he walked to the French window and said, yes, I can hear it, and I understand it. Before, in order to realize my ideals, I bribed politicians and police, but to them, I was a pawn that could be discarded at any time. But it's different now. You encouraged me to stand up, and Lin wanted me to take the initiative myself, so I can't have any stains. Some things can't be done anymore. Now that Madame Gao and the others have disappeared, I think there are only 2 possibilities, they have achieved their goal, or they have been killed. Then I can start over again. I'll improve my social status first, and then work my way up little by little. But I still have to keep the gangs in Hell's Kitchen under control. No one else is allowed to come in here, otherwise it will disrupt my plan. Vanessa stood beside him, took his arm, and said, I will help you. I know some potential painters. I will go talk to them. Once you have a certain social status, then naturally people will be willing to donate money and join our charity. This will also reduce your charitable pressure. I think the biggest problem with nursing homes is actually medical care. We can acquire a hospital in Hell's Kitchen. Fisk's eyes lit up and he said, yes, with insurance, it won't cost us too much. You are really a good helper to me. In the future, I will run for district councillor, city councillor, or even mayor. The next day Fisk took action and called in his right-hand man James Wesley. Wesley, I need to replan. Fisk said. Fisk, do you understand the current situation? Wesley asked curiously. We don't need to know. No matter what happens, we have to face it ourselves. Fisk looked at him and said, I hosted Lin and his girlfriend last night. Lin gave me a good idea. We need to replan Hell's Kitchen. Ask the designer to find 2 plots of land with the least potential for future appreciation. I'm going to build a nursing home, and I'm going to have people talk to all the lonely elderly people in Hell's Kitchen, and exchange their property rights and lease contracts for places in the nursing home. When the nursing home is built, they can go and take a look first, and then sign the contract if they are satisfied. We can even introduce lawyers to them and find the charitable foundation under Lin's name to cooperate with them. Wesley was stunned, then said with surprise, this is a good idea. These people are afraid of sleeping on the streets. If there is a nursing home, then they will definitely be willing to go there. Besides, charitable activities are tax-exempt and have many benefits. Should we set up a charitable fund? That's right. Fisk nodded. I'm going to set up a Vanessa Charity Foundation, which will be run by Vanessa. She'll also hold many charity auctions in the future. These are all connected. In addition, I will build low-rent apartments, exchange leases with the remaining people, and develop an office building on the edge of Hell's Kitchen. These are all carried out simultaneously. We don't need to rush. We should use limited funds to do these things slowly, plan the funds well, and then use the money earned from the office building to change Hell's Kitchen little by little. This is a long-term undertaking, my friend, and I need your full commitment. No problem. Wesley said, without their urging. We don't need to acquire all the property rights. It's better to do it bit by bit. In this way, we can also clean up those gangs. Let's keep them for now. Fisk said, I don't want them to come into Hell's Kitchen and fight with me. They are our barrier. Fisk took action. Now that United Construction Company belonged to him, he had someone clean up the accounts and then began to replan according to the existing funds. He himself stood up again and held a press conference to announce the establishment of the Vanessa Charitable Foundation, and would first build a nursing home in Hell's Kitchen for the elderly and widows in Hell's Kitchen. After ensuring their survival, we will purchase their property rights and lease contracts to ensure a smooth transition and guarantee their survival and lives. At the same time, the first batch of low-rent apartments will be built to ensure housing for the lower-income people, but the public security conditions in the new low-rent apartments need to be guaranteed. His series of actions instantly brought him considerable fame, and the person most shocked was Matthew Murdoch. As Daredevil, he knew Fisk best, which made him a little unbelievable, but he also noticed the disappearance of the Hand and the Society. These changes caught him off guard. He patrolled Hell's Kitchen more frequently at night and found that the situation was much better than before. This made him very curious, and he decided to keep an eye on Fisk first. But for half a month, he didn't find anything strange. Fisk was very busy every day, attending various cocktail parties. At the same time, the United Construction Company had already begun measuring and designing on the selected land. The law firm was commissioned to take charge of the legal affairs of the elderly and widowed people, and to carry out joint actions with Link's Charity Foundation. Chapter 47 Confession. Jessica has been a little worried recently. With continuous training, she found that her strength and speed have improved. Of course, the improvement in speed is not much, so there is no need to worry about it, but her strength has increased. Although her control had improved, her strength had increased again, causing her to feel worried. Tracy, my strength has increased again. She made an appointment with Tracy for lunch that day, hoping that she could help her think of a solution. Tracy noticed Jessica's anxiety and said, "You should confess." "But I don't dare." I don't know what Lin will think. Jessica said irritably, will he be afraid of me? Do you understand? Of course I understand, but this will be discovered sooner or later. Tracy said, instead of you getting upset here, it's better to just say it directly. Otherwise, the longer it takes, the worse it may get. And he may not care. After all, he likes you so much. Love can tolerate everything. Jessica frowned, unable to make up her mind. She was worried that Link would look at her strangely, which was something she could not accept. Link also sensed that Jessica had some emotional issues recently, and she was trying her best to control her emotions. However, the two of them were together day and night, and Link was the most sensitive to Jessica's emotions. That night, after they finished dinner, they fell on the sofa and watched TV together. Link asked, "Honey, what's wrong with you lately? I sense that you are very upset. Are you in trouble?" Jessica's body obviously stiffened, and she began to struggle in her heart. "Lin, what would you think if I were a little different from you?" Finally, she asked. "Different?" Link laughed in his heart, but it was time to be honest with Jessica. Otherwise, if this continued, Link was worried that she would suffer from depression, which would be the worst-case scenario. "Yes, you and I may be a little different." Jessica's voice was very soft, and most people might not be able to hear it. "Tell me about it," Link asked. "I have great power," said Jessica. "Really?" Link looked curious. "I don't believe it." Jessica sat up from Link's arms, then reached out and grabbed one of the legs of the coffee table, and lifted it up with one hand. It was very steady, and nothing on it fell down. He put it down steadily again, then looked at Link and asked, "Did you see it?" She was very nervous, but what Link did next shocked her greatly. Link also reached out to grab one of the legs of the coffee table and lifted it up steadily. The things on it also did not fall down. Finally, he put it down. Jessica stared with her eyes wide open and her mouth open. Link said, "Isn't this the same? This is impossible." Jessica looked incredulous. "This is made of wood, with a marble tabletop." Link laughed out loud, "Haha Jessica, you are not the only special one in this world. I always find it cute to see you restrained when exercising." "You?" Jessica blushed and rushed forward, kissing Link's mouth for a long time before they separated. "I want to be on top today." The two of them tangled and finally went to the bedroom. Jessica acted very wild and released her repressed mood. Fortunately, the building of the apartment was strong enough and the bed was strong enough, otherwise it would be easy to get into trouble. In the past, the two of them would usually exercise for more than an hour, but today it was over in just half an hour, but it was more enjoyable. "Hey!" Jessica was sweating all over and lying on Link's chest. Only then did she ask, "What's wrong with you?" "I'm Superman," Link said. "I'm asking you seriously," Jessica said a little unhappily. "I'm serious." Link hugged Jessica with both hands, then his body floated up and flew towards the bathroom. Jessica took a long time to recover. Entering the bathroom, Link then came down, stood under the shower, and turned on the shower. "It's actually true." Jessica came to her senses after being showered with hot water. "Is that you in the comic?" "No, I'm not a Kryptonian." Link turned around and went to fill the bathtub again. "Don't be surprised. You don't understand the reality of the world. I will train you from now on. You have poor control over your strength. Although you don't need to fight, you still need to protect yourself." "Okay." Jessica was finally relieved. She put her arms around Link's neck and clamped her legs around his waist. She started the war again. Link hurriedly took insurance measures. He didn't want to be a father yet. The next day, after getting up, the two went to the foundation first to arrange the foundation's affairs. Now, because they were working together with the Vanessa Charity Foundation, there were still a lot of things to do. Afterwards, Link took Jessica to look for a factory. They needed an abandoned factory and then renovate it. This will be the place where Link trains Jessica. Although she has found a coach before, she cannot fight against the opponent or hit the sandbag by herself, as these cannot control her fists and strength. In Link's opinion, the best option is to use guns. This is only for the time being, as Jessica only needs to protect herself. However, after looking at some places, Link found that they were not ideal, that is, the walls were too thin, so it would be better to buy land and rebuild them himself. He needed thick walls so that when the two of them fought, the house wouldn't collapse. and strict confidentiality measures were required to prevent anyone from snooping into their secrets, so Link directly bought a warehouse near the apartment, which was not very large, and demolished it and rebuilt it. It was rebuilt in the name of a private gym, with one underground floor and one above ground floor. However, the lift on the above ground floor was designed to be very high, at a height of 10 meters. There is not a single window. Central air conditioning will be installed here. The entire building is made of reinforced concrete and has only one entrance. The underground floor is a shooting range, which needs to be soundproofed and safety measures must be taken. After all, guns will be placed here in the future. The responsible construction company did not suspect anything. After all, there was a shooting range, so such a request was reasonable. Isn't it reasonable for a rich man to build a shooting range for himself in the city? Jessica also cancelled her personal trainer. After all, personal trainers are not safe and can easily discover her secrets. The reason why this place was built relatively high is to allow Jessica to practice jumping and control her jumping height, distance, etc. There are also various high-altitude moves to increase her flexibility. Chapter 48 is Wondersuite. In this way, 3 months later, the law firm's office building was completed, the law firm moved in, and began recruiting people. Several people were hired before. After all, the office they rented before was too small to accommodate so many people, and Link and Jessica's private gym was also built. The ground is paved with thick rubber flooring. It is empty inside now, but the basement has been arranged with a 50-meter-long shooting range, as well as weapons cabinets and other basic facilities. All lighting here uses lights, and ventilation uses central air conditioning. Such a sealed building is quite unique. However, there are surveillance systems installed in the surrounding area, and the monitoring is very strict, including in the law firm. Link attaches great importance to the use of monitoring systems. It is a measure to ensure safety and a necessary means to protect one's own secrets, because you never know when you will be noticed by others. For example, I killed more than 300 people in the desert, and no one suspected anything. The main reason was that his speed was too fast and the opponent had little chance to fight back. Of course, it did not mean that no shots were fired at all, but this was also the biggest doubt. In other words, there were no survivors at the scene, and nothing was photographed, and the desert concealed many things. It's not a big problem. No one doubts Link's fighting ability now. The most they doubt is how strong his fighting ability is. Doesn't Link know this? He knew it, but he did it on purpose. After all, he might run into some trouble in the future. So it would be better to shock everyone at once. Even if it's Nick Fury, he can suspect anything, but he won't act rashly. After all, Link is his subordinate. The contact time between the two sides is too short now. If Nick Fury does anything extreme, he will easily lose Link, this outstanding combat force. Aren't there enough special people? S.H.I.E.L.D. has a lot of special people under its control, but they are not suitable to be included in its Avengers plan. Nick Fury compared the combat power with that of the Kree fleet. Even Hawkeye, Black Widow, and Link are unqualified, but he has to do this, otherwise how can he succeed without his own people among the Avengers? Link and Jessica were both in the law firm, along with Matthew Murdock and Foggy Nelson. You two, now that we have moved here, the firm is officially on the right track. Jessica said, some of the previous contracts will be transferred here, for example, my driver's contract will be transferred to the foundation. Where's the car, dear? Link thought about it and said, let's keep this private. After all, what if I want to change the car in the future? The foundation is mainly for charity, so you should be responsible for this matter yourself. Okay, then the vehicles will not be included in the foundation. Jessica nodded. Everyone's contracts will be re-signed as before, and the firm will be responsible for it. In addition, we need to recruit people quickly, and we can recruit a group of assistants first. Now we are working with the Vanessa Charity Foundation. There are too many people who need funding. Although it is not a big problem, it is very complicated. I don't want any problems to occur. We are just cooperating with each other, and everything is based on the interests of the client. However, the contract is basically the same, it's just that the paperwork is relatively cumbersome. Fergie Nelson said, Ms. Jones, there is no problem in this regard. It is not easy to find a formal lawyer, but there are many intern assistants who have graduated. Especially when two charitable foundations are working together, they hope to encounter such a large number of cases. Matthew Murdock said, I think we should be careful enough. After all, Wilson Fisk is not a simple person. Link laughed and said, Matthew, I know what you are worried about. I used to be a policeman. I am not unfamiliar with this person. I know who he is, but the issues here need to be looked at separately. Matthew Murdoch frowned and asked, how do we separate them? First is Hell's Kitchen. You are all familiar with this place. You need to compare what it was like in the past and what it is like now. Link said, because you must admit that evil cannot be completely eliminated, especially in a place like New York. The second thing is to establish some order. Whether this order is good or bad, it needs to be compared. In the end, people can't count on politicians, police, or even the law, which won't make much difference. Matthew Murdoch was silent for a moment, then said, so evil is allowed to exist. Matthew, this is your problem. You can't raise a problem without giving me a solution. Link said, we know the problem, but what about the solution? Let's not talk about the whole of New York, let's just talk about Hell's Kitchen. Everyone knows that there is a lot of crime here, but what is the solution? Those politicians thought Hell's Kitchen didn't sound good, so they came up with the names Clinton and West Midtown, but did that solve the problem? They can't even solve the lead poisoning problem in the water pipes. My apartment has purification equipment, and it's also installed here, but what about ordinary people? They still drink toxic tap water, or even tap water that does not meet the standards. Water is sweet. Matthew's face turned red. Link was right. He raised the problem, but he couldn't come up with a solution to the problem. And what about the politicians? Can they solve anything? Link took out a cigarette, lit one and started smoking. After a while, he spoke again and said, what Fisk is doing now is the method I gave him. As a partner, we need to keep an eye on these contracts and make sure they fulfill their obligations. This is something we can do. But the drug addicts and criminals will be kicked out of the public housing estates and they will be given to law-abiding people. The reason why I want to give Fisk some advice is because at least he is willing to do things. Although he is also not clean, he does things. He has the ability to do it. If someone else had developed Hell's Kitchen, it would have been swallowed up in a few days. It's like I reminded him not to eat it all at once. He couldn't eat it before, and he can't eat it now. He can slowly treat it as a career. I'll say the same thing to you. You can't solve the crime problem all at once, so just do it bit by bit. At least make Hell's Kitchen a better place. Fergie Nelson had been anxious for a long time, and immediately said, Mr. Lin is right, we can do it little by little, at least now those elderly people can be taken care of, right? Chapter 49 Fisk is trying. Matthew Murdoch is like a saint. He doesn't want his hands to be stained with blood, and he doesn't kill anyone when he goes out to fight crime every day. However, there is very little he can do. So what if he brought down Fisk? There will be more people coming later, this is something that cannot be stopped, and Fisker is at least doing something. What about someone who just wants to make money? What will happen? Matthew was very confused at this time. He only talked about the problem but did not have any solution. Link pointed it out directly, it's right for you to raise the problem, but where is the solution? You can't just bring it up yourself and expect others to solve it, that would be too much. The two parties no longer have any disputes for the time being and are concentrating on resolving the contract issues. Fisk is also not idle. He is actively appearing in major media. At the same time, a new company was established at the dock, responsible for loading and unloading and transportation at the dock. All construction materials needed by the United Construction Company had to be unloaded here. The cost of sea transportation is lower, and direct landing at nearby shores saves transportation costs. Fisk recruited all the workers in Hell's Kitchen, and his men were responsible for the security of the dock. If the gangs from Hell's Kitchen wanted to go ashore here in the future, they had to get his permission. The Irish gang and the Russian gang, which were previously the most powerful gangs in Hell's Kitchen, had suffered heavy losses before, and with the subsequent blows from the Hand and the Society, Fisk's power is now the most powerful. Wesley, any other thoughts about Hell's Kitchen? Fisk asked. Wesley is a talented person who can speak several languages. He said, there is no problem with the hospital, but we can't expand it for the time being. It will take up a lot of our funds. We can only acquire it first. The other thing is a large supermarket. We can build a comprehensive one, so we can make more money, such as catering and entertainment. I mean normal entertainment. We can also create a red light district, concentrate some of the gang's businesses there, attract outsiders to come here to play, and at the same time clean up other streets and streetwalkers. Fisk was very satisfied. He looked at Wesley and said, as expected, your talent can only be reflected at this time. It is a waste of your talent to let you be responsible for the problems on the streets. I can do anything as long as it can help you achieve your dream. Wesley regards Fisk as a friend, and Fisk also regards him as a friend. By the way, I heard that the heir of the Rand Group is back. Fisk asked. Yes, the Rand family encountered a plane crash before, but they were never discovered, so their shares could not be dealt with. Now the heir is back, has proved his identity, and got the shares back. Wesley nodded. The Rand Group is also located in Hell's Kitchen. It's not that there are no large companies and tall buildings here, but they are relatively few. Can't fully enhance the value of Hell's Kitchen. How's this person? Fisk asked with a concerned look. He doesn't care about anything. After all, he seems to have received no education in all these years and doesn't understand the affairs of the group. The Meacham siblings are still in charge of the management. Wesley thought for a moment and said, in addition, their father Harold Meacham seems to be still alive. Oh! Fisk was stunned. I didn't know about this before, but with the disappearance of Mrs. Gao and the others, many things have come to light. Wesley said, Harold Meacham's incident may be related to Mrs. Gao and the others. I see. Fisk suddenly realized, it seems that Alexandra and Madame Gao did have their own purpose. They disappeared so cleanly, including the island country. I suspect they were destroyed by other forces. You should be more careful now and keep more people around you. I understand. We can kill them quietly. I suspect it's a government agency. Wesley also had his own suspicions. Such a huge force, but it didn't touch us, so we are safe now. Fisk was still worried. We can't be careless. The current situation is the best for us. All previous drug and human trafficking has been cut off. We must do our best to build a red light district. We can't let the gangs go hungry, otherwise they will do whatever they want. Inform them of this and work together to attract customers. The public security at night must be improved. Let the West Central City branch increase patrols at night. Come on, attack me. Link faced Jessica in the gym, use the fighting skills you learned and attack me at will. Here I come. Jessica rushed over and then threw a straight punch. While dodging, Link said, your intention is too obvious. You should know how to attack the weak and not let others see your intention. Pay attention to your footwork, the continuity of your attacks, don't be too rigid, and use various techniques flexibly. Techniques are used to help you exert power. Not to hurt the enemy. It is your power that hurts the enemy. Link was dodging and teaching at the same time, and Jessica couldn't hit him at all, but Jessica was very strong and had enough endurance, so now she could attack without restraint and she could hold on. The two of them now spend several hours here every day training, including fighting and firearms. Link chose the Glock 26 for Jessica. The gun is relatively small and fits Jessica's palm. Jessica is very strong, so the recoil of the gun has no effect on her. The key lies in the shooting action and muscle memory. This requires more practice. Anyway, Link has bought a lot of bullets and let Jessica train. Jessica let go, and the effect of her training improved significantly, and even her ability was greatly improved. The two of them didn't even exercise at home, but directly in the gym, where they didn't have to worry about the bed and the floor collapsing. Jessica can use her full strength, and Link still needs to be controlled, but the power has been increased a lot, so Jessica is always exhausted. The relationship between the two people has made rapid progress again, and they both feel that the other is the most suitable for them. Before we knew it, winter arrived in New York. Stark Industries brought good news, the development of the Jellicle missile was completed and entered the testing phase. The selection for next year's Apex Award began, and Tony Stark had the highest voice. The story that Link has been waiting for is about to unfold. After the appearance of Big Brother Iron Man, the curtain of the Marvel Universe is about to open. In fact, this is what is said in the movie, and Link believes that the beginning of chaos on Earth was Odin's aging and the death of the Ancient One. If the two of them were still alive, Thanos would not dare to come to Earth. Chapter 50 Stock Manipulation. Regardless, the Avengers will kick off soon, and interesting things will begin, and likewise, we are getting closer to the Infinity Stones. Although Link has joined SHIELD and is a level 6 agent, he is still considered a peripheral staff member and cannot enter the core at all. He shows his strength only in the hope of joining the Avengers in the future. It's not a bad thing that S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't go too deep into the core. After all, it's still S.H.I.E.L.D. and it's hard to tell the difference. There was no need for him to go into the core and wade into the muddy waters. He could just wait patiently for the beginning. In this way, time came to 2008, and Fisker's nursing home opened. It was well built and had complete facilities. The lonely elderly people in Hell's Kitchen also signed contracts and moved in. Their meager pensions belong to the nursing home. They have no money of their own, but all matters will be taken care of by the nursing home. All their property rights, lease contracts, etc. were transferred to United Construction Company, so Fisk controlled more land and property rights. The first batch of low-rent apartments have been put into use and exchanges have begun, and the construction of the first office building has also begun long ago. Everything is moving in a good direction. This is a charity matter, and as for making money, the dock controlled by Fisk is on the right track, which has really solved a large number of employment problems. In addition, the Red Light District project has also begun. Each gang is responsible for its own part here, which will be their main source of income. As a result, the security in Hell's Kitchen has improved a lot. After all, only when it is safe will people come to play, and there are many ways to play. The girls here come from all over the world, which is dazzling. Nightclubs, discos, and clubs all have their own characteristics. There is even a large casino here, which has really attracted a group of people to Hell's Kitchen. Every night, gang members and police would join patrols, which made Matthew Murdoch very depressed. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Fisk cut off the landing channels for drugs and people, which forced the gangs outside Hell's Kitchen to look for new docks. For a time, there was a shortage of supply, and Fisk began to take action, digging out the drug addicts in Hell's Kitchen and sending them to drug rehabilitation centers. To this end, Vanessa launched a charity auction and selected the works of a lesser-known painter, but his paintings were very good. Link was also among the invited guests. He brought Jessica with him and bought a painting for $20,000 and hung it in the guest room. The auction was very successful. After all, the purpose was to help drug addicts, but in reality, it just cleared them out of Hell's Kitchen, and it would be difficult for them to come back. However, if they can quit drugs, they may not be unable to get a new life, but this is too difficult, and everyone knows it is difficult. Vanessa was dazzling at the auction and got what she wanted, but this was just the beginning. She would then frequently move in and out of New York's upper society. The Apex Awards were held as scheduled. Link paid attention and saw that Stark Industries was negotiating with the military about the purchase of Jellicoe missiles. Stark Industries' stock rose again. Link took this opportunity to sell all his stocks and immediately bought shares of Hammer Industries. At this time, the stock of Hammer Industries dropped slightly, and Link made a direct move without hesitation. At this time, his $1.1 billion had become nearly $1.2 billion. The dividends were given to the charity fund. By the time he completed the operation, the news of Tony Stark's disappearance finally came back. Stark Industries' stock suddenly fell by about 3%, while Hammer Industries' stock began to rise. Carlson called Link and asked him to find out some information from the upper echelons of New York to see if there was anything to be gained. Then there was no other action. In fact, this matter is a bit strange. S.H.I.E.L.D. should have been keeping an eye on Tony Stark. Didn't S.H.I.E.L.D. take action when he was kidnapped? Or maybe S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't expect that Stark would be kidnapped under the protection of the military. After all, this sounded like a joke. Most people wouldn't believe that Stark would be taken away by the US military. As time went by, Stark disappeared for longer and longer periods of time, which naturally dealt the greatest blow to Stark Industries. However, because Stark Industries had so many profitable projects, the stock price did not fall much. Link also analyzed that as the mastermind behind the scenes, Obadiah Stane would not have allowed the stock price of Stark Industries to plummet without making preparations. However, Hammer Industries benefited from it. As time went on, Justin Hammer hinted on various occasions that Stark was dead. The stock price of Hammer Industries rose significantly, and Link made a fortune. So, more than 2 months after Stark disappeared, Link began to slowly sell Hammer Industries shares, and his funds reached $1.3 billion. By buying low and selling high, Link made more than $100 million in 2 operations, most of which came from the appreciation of Hammer Industries stock. Coincidentally, Link had also passed the tax season, so he could patiently wait for Stark's return and announce the closure of the weapons department. Stark Industries' market value of $200 billion plummeted by more than 55% to less than $100 billion. Link planned to short Stark Industries and make a fortune. He directly used 10 times the financial leverage, and then borrowed more than $10 billion worth of Stark Industries stock from various financial institutions for a period of 1 month. By the time all this was done, Stark had been missing for 3 months, and Link had also received the news that Stark had been rescued. The stock price began to rise, but Link was still holding on to the stocks and did not sell them. It was not until the day before Stark's return that he took action and sold all the stocks at once. But it did not affect the stock price. Countless people rushed to buy it. If Tony Stark came back and did not announce the closure of the weapons department, then Link would go bankrupt. But he was not afraid. At worst, he could go to Africa, capture Ulysses Claw, steal his vibranium, and then sell him to Wakanda. Stark is back, and as soon as he gets off the plane, he's going to hold a press conference. Link was in the Foundation's office, watching the press conference on TV. Jessica was sitting next to him. She didn't know about Link's financial operations. Jessica took a sip from the wine glass and asked, "Why are you paying attention to him?" "Of course we have to keep an eye on him. The development of our foundation depends on him," Link said with a smile, and then continued to stare at the TV. Jessica stopped talking. She found that her boyfriend was paying extra attention to her today. Chapter 51 Shareholding. Tony Stark did not disappoint Link's hopes. He publicly announced the closure of Stark Industries' weapons department. Obadiah Stane was shocked and hurriedly took remedial measures, but it was of no avail. The stock market reacted the fastest, and people immediately started selling Stark Industries stock, which also surprised Jessica. Their foundation was run on the stock dividends of Stark Industries. She immediately turned to look at Link, who actually looked very happy. "Honey, our stocks?" Jessica asked immediately. "Don't worry, I sold it a long time ago, and I'm shorting Stark Industries stock. I'm sure I'll make a lot of money this time, so it's worth celebrating. You call Tracy and we'll have dinner together tonight." Link stood up and rubbed his hands excitedly. He didn't care about the money. This was a small achievement for him. Although he had the advantage of foresight, he was the one who did all the operations. From now on, he no longer needs to worry about money. He can directly hold shares of Stark Industries. He has made a lot of money this time, and he may be able to become a shareholder and join the board of directors. Jessica was stunned when she heard it, and asked, "How did you come up with that?" "This is a secret." "Okay, don't ask. Let's think about where to eat tonight, and then wait for Stark Industries stock to fall." Link didn't say it. After all, this matter was not easy to explain. Jessica nodded, then took out her cell phone and called Tracy. Link hasn't received a call from Carlson, but that's right. After all, Stark lives in Los Angeles, Stark Industries is there, and his Stark Tower has not been completed yet. Normally Tony Stark is not in New York at all, so it is better for him not to be in it. Link watched the stock of Stark Industries continue to fall, and he was ready to close his position at any time and return the stock to the financial institution. This is a routine operation of short selling. He sells high and buys low, and the difference is his profit. In total, he has sold stocks worth more than $14 billion, and he can earn more than half of the profit. Just by paying a large amount of interest, his total assets could reach more than $10 billion. He bought Stark Industries shares at the lowest point, but he only bought 10% of the shares. If you hold 5% of the shares of a listed company, you must disclose the shareholder information. Link does not have a job, but he has a charitable foundation, so he must disclose the information of the charitable foundation. When Link finished all the operations, Carlson called and said, "Lin, you really surprised me. You actually became a shareholder of Stark Industries." "It's not me, it's my charity fund." Link corrected, "What's wrong? Can you come to Los Angeles?" Carlson asked. "I need you here." "Okay, I can go. After all, Stanny is going to hold a board meeting and Jessica will be there." Link was going to go anyway. Stark Industries' market value evaporated by more than $100 billion in one go. Link acquired it at the lowest point, spending only nearly $9 billion, which just reached a 10% shareholding ratio. However, the shares are held in the name of a charitable foundation, so Jessica, as the head of the foundation, has to attend the board meeting. The two had already booked their flights, and Link figured Carlson would look for him. In Los Angeles, after Link and Jessica checked into the hotel, Jessica was a little nervous and asked, "Lin, what should I do when I attend?" "Put the interests of the Foundation first. Just say that the operation of the Foundation will rely on the profits of Stark Industries in the future." Link said, "You can support Stanny temporarily." "Temporarily?" Jessica didn't quite understand. "Yes, for now. You don't have to worry about other things. This is their internal struggle for power. It has nothing to do with us. They will decide the winner. Anyway, it's just a vote." Link comforted her, "I'll talk to you when you come back." "Okay, I'll try my best." Jessica took a deep breath and encouraged herself. The two of them went to bed early, and the next day Jessica took the hotel car to the Stark Industries headquarters, while Link went to meet Carlson. "Hey, long time no see." Link shook hands with Carlson. "What can I do for you?" "Stark escaped on his own, and we are very interested in how he escaped," Carlson said. Link raised his eyebrows and asked, "Haven't you been keeping an eye on Stark?" "That's how I was recruited." "Why didn't you do anything after he was kidnapped?" Carlson said helplessly, "We didn't expect it either. After all, he was going to the US military base. Who knew he would be kidnapped? After that, we didn't dare to conduct a large-scale search because it could easily cause misunderstandings." When Link heard this, it was exactly what he thought. He said, "There is something wrong with this. It is impossible to succeed if the troops escort the troops without accurate intelligence. I have been operating Stark Industries stocks recently. I found that after Stark disappeared, the stock price did not drop significantly. This is very abnormal. Unless they knew about it in advance and made arrangements, it wouldn't be like this." Carlson understood immediately and asked, "Do you suspect there is a problem within Stark Industries?" "I think it's that Stanny. Otherwise, no one else can stabilize the stock price." Link said, "And if Stark gets into trouble, he will be the one who benefits the most. He is also the only one who knows Stark's itinerary." "You're right, this matter needs to be reported to the director." Carlson immediately took out his phone and called Nick Fury. The two talked on the phone for a long time, while Link walked aside and lit a cigarette. His idea was very simple. On the one hand, he wanted to demonstrate his own value, and on the other hand, he wanted to avoid fighting as much as possible. After all, Iron Man's armor was too thick, and his pistol was useless, but he could use a sniper rifle. This requires waiting until the opponent opens his armor. Link has always held on to the idea of avoiding fighting as much as possible. Carlson hung up the phone, then came to Link and said, "Well, the director will let you investigate Stanny, and I will continue to approach Stark." "Okay, I'll be there as soon as possible." Link nodded, "But I might need some equipment. Is there a branch here?" "Yes, I'll take you there first." Carlson waved and asked Link to get in the car. The two soon arrived at the Los Angeles branch, which was also a building. S.H.I.E.L.D. was indeed wealthy and powerful. However, it was also true that New York and Los Angeles were international cities on the east and west coasts, so it was necessary for them to each establish a branch. Chapter 52 West Coast. When they arrived at the branch, Carlson mysteriously brought him a piece of equipment. It was a box that looked a bit like a waste bag. Inside the all-black box was the willow leaf throwing knife that Link had used before. Placed on the lower back is a pair of special half-finger gloves with control buttons on them. When pressed, throwing knives can pop out from both sides of the box. 100 willow leaf throwing knives can be loaded in the box. Link liked it very much. After equipping it and trying it out, he found that it was indeed more convenient than a waste bag, but it could hold too little. There are 4 in total, all built for him by S.H.I.E.L.D.'s technical department. Naturally, they are not as good as Hawkeye's equipment. In S.H.I.E.L.D.'s view, the shooting range of the throwing knives is limited after all. They didn't know how far Link could shoot, but Link naturally didn't care. He could also equip a large number of firearms and save the throwing knives for close combat. He put the things aside and asked, "Carlson, if I want to get into someone else's computer and copy the data inside, what do I need?" "That's easy." Carlson quickly brought over a USB flash drive, which was much larger than those sold on the market. "Just plug it in, and it will automatically crack and download. Take this." "What else do you need?" "A car, preferably a fast sports car, black for concealment at night." Link thought about it and made another request. This makes it easier for him to track. If Obadiah Stane wants to seize the energy core, he must take action against Stark. Then it will be natural for him to capture him. But I don't know the exact time, and this thing may not be guaranteed. There is also a sniper rifle. Okay, I'll arrange it. Coulson quickly got ready. Link put everything in the car, said hello, and drove directly back to the hotel. Jessica had returned. When she saw Link coming in, she immediately said, "Dear, there will be a dinner party tonight to entertain us shareholders." "No problem, I'll go with you." Link then said, "It looks like we need to buy a house here. I guess we'll have to come here more often in the future." "Okay, it's up to you." Jessica didn't care, but she still asked, "Are you still buying an apartment?" "Apartment?" Link thought about it, then shook his head, "No, let's buy a villa this time. It's different here from New York. A villa is better so we don't have to worry about the floor and the bed." Link teased. Jessica's face turned red. She couldn't control herself at the critical moment. She used a lot of force every time, otherwise they wouldn't be doing it in the gym now. "If I buy a villa, I can also build a gym, which will make it convenient for training." Tony Stark did not show up at the evening party. This was Stanley's strategy. On the one hand, he wanted to win over shareholders and unite to suppress Stark by taking advantage of the closure of the weapons department. On the other hand, he was also preparing for the future. Link and Jessica are new faces and this time they hold 10% of the shares. Although it is in the name of a charitable foundation, everyone knows that this is Link's private property. Stanley was very enthusiastic and Link was polite on the surface. Link suggested visiting the headquarters and factory of Stark Industries tomorrow. Stanley immediately agreed and said he would send someone to pick them up at the hotel tomorrow and take them on a tour. After the cocktail party, the two went out for a midnight snack and then returned to the hotel to rest. As expected, someone from Stark Industries arrived the next day and took them to the factory. Link was indeed curious about this place. He also used his X-ray vision to observe and found that the ironmonger was being built. With this, Link had a clear idea in mind, and the next thing he went to was the headquarters building of Stark Industries. Stark Industries has an expo in New York, which was built during World War II, but it is now closed and Tony Stark does not usually appear in New York. Link and Jessica visited all the way up. Of course, they didn't have to see every place, they just wanted to take a general look. There were some R&D departments here, which were the highlight of the visit. Link was quite curious about these, but the question was, how to get into Stanley's office. Only there is the evidence of his weapons smuggling, and with this evidence, S.H.I.E.L.D. can deal with him and even help Stark get back more shares. However, Nick Fury may not hand it over to Stark. Maybe he will arrange someone to take over these shares. Anyway, it is easy for S.H.I.E.L.D. to achieve. Link calculated how much Nick Fury had earned from the evidence he provided. "It's great. This is my first time at the headquarters of a large group, but we want to take a break now," Link said suddenly. "Of course, we have a VIP lounge here, please follow me." A secretary was responsible for showing them around and took them to the lounge. Link looked at it and was very satisfied. He said, "Okay, let's take a break first. I'm outside, you can call me anytime." The secretary closed the door and walked out, while Link took out a cigar and Jessica poured 2 glasses of wine, one of which was Link's favorite plum-flavored bourbon. Link smoked a cigar while constantly looking around with his X-ray vision. He was looking for Stanley's office. His eyes passed through the floors and he quickly found the location, then he listened. Stanley was in the office, talking to someone from the military. After all, Stark's actions also affected the military. Stanley had to deal with inquiries from the military and make some guarantees. It must be said that Stanley's contribution was indeed to Stark Industries. Howard and Tony, father and son, are indeed geniuses, but they are indeed not as good as Stanislavski in management. After a while, the secretary knocked on the door and came in, saying that Stanley wanted to see them. Link thought it was a good idea, so he took Jessica to Stanley's office. Stark is the CEO and Stanley is the coup, but he is usually responsible for everything except research and development. "Welcome to the headquarters of Stark Industries. Are you two satisfied today?" Stanley said with a smile on his face. Link shook hands with the other party, and then said, "I am satisfied. This is the first time I have seen the headquarters of a large group. The conditions here are really good. It's a pity that I don't have the talent in this area. Mr. Lin, you are too modest. You started from scratch." Stanley took out a cigar, obviously knowing Link's preference, and then poured him a bourbon. Link was not polite. After taking it, he said, "It's nothing. I'm just lucky. I also have some knowledge of psychology. I'm lucky. I've met Mr. Stark twice and have some understanding of him. You can say that I'm gambling this time, but luckily I'm pretty good at judging people." Chapter 53 Analysis. Stanny sighed and said, "Well, I'm doing my best to help Tony manage the company. He is just too willful sometimes. The market value has evaporated by more than 100 billion yuan. It is too difficult to recover. I believe in you, Mr. Stanny. After all, you have contributed a lot to this place, and you have the ability to do it. Link did not hesitate to praise you. Our foundation supports you. After all, we need dividends to operate. Mr. Stark's place." Stanny immediately said, "Don't worry, I will definitely convince him." Link and Stanny had a pleasant conversation, but Link didn't find any opportunity during this time unless Stanny left the office. Link and Jessica said goodbye and left. Link actually realized that it was not realistic to get Stanny's evidence in advance. After all, Stark Industries is a technology and industrial group with many monitoring systems and advanced security measures. Unless Link uses his superpowers, he is not sure he can avoid all the cameras this time. Link gave up the idea of stealing evidence, and he and Jessica started looking for a house. For example, Tony Stark's Liberty City is not suitable for them. The two of them certainly cannot live here permanently. The villa does not need to be too big, otherwise it will be quite expensive to maintain. They are not short of money now, but they both have their own secrets, so it would not do to have too many people in the villa, so they set their sights on Beverly Hills. "We have a complete service system here. There is no need for long-term employment. All you need is regular maintenance and cleaning services. It is so simple and convenient." Link is actually not very adaptable to the life of rich people, or life in the United States. He doesn't like having to pay property taxes on his own house, but things are slowly improving now. The residents of Beverly Hills are always coming and going. There are Hollywood stars and wealthy people here, but there are always people who go bankrupt or are short of money. Luxury houses are also an investment, especially in wealthy areas with good geographical locations. Link didn't buy anything too big. Not all of the mansions here are worth a fortune, some are worth millions. Link bought one directly and looked at the conditions inside. The houses here are all well maintained. The reason he chose this one is that this villa has an indoor basketball hall, which is half the size of a standard basketball court. It used to belong to a basketball star. At this point in time, millions of dollars are no longer a small amount of money. There is also an outdoor swimming pool, but it is still far inferior to the mansions worth tens of millions. However, there are only two of them, so this place is already pretty good. The basketball court can be simply renovated by replacing the floor with a thick rubber floor, and the other things can be dismantled. This can be done very quickly, and Link and Jessica can move directly into the villa. All household items were replaced, which was the responsibility of Jessica, while Link drove a sports car and began to monitor Stanny. He went to Stark's house and brought a box of pizza. Link probably went to persuade Stark. At this time, the stock of Stark Industries had stopped falling, but the market value of more than 100 billion evaporated, which was still unbearable for the shareholders. Stanny left quickly, and it was obvious that he was very dissatisfied. Link followed him all the way to Stanny's home. He listened outside and found no valuable information, so he stepped on the accelerator and left. Link's tracking distance was very long, so he didn't have to worry about being discovered. On his way back, he called Carlson. "Carlson, it will probably be difficult to obtain evidence of Stanny's crime. Stark Industries' security system is very tight, and I can't get in." Link said directly, "And it is relatively difficult to track him. After all, he seems to be very busy now." "Did you gain anything?" Carlson asked. "Yes, Stanny contacted all shareholders to temporarily deprive Stark of his rights. He is contacting all his connections to gain support." Link said. "Lin, there are some problems with your guess. If Stanny is the man behind the scenes, then Stark should be dead." Carlson said. "No, I think my idea is correct. Don't forget that the initial attack was intended to kill him. The thing on Stark's chest is proof of that. But he didn't die. The other party saved him." Link said, "They performed surgery on him, but didn't ask for a ransom. By the way, do you know how he escaped?" "No, he doesn't want to pay attention to us now. Carlson seemed to have figured it out, and said hurriedly, if your guess is correct, then the people who kidnapped Stark are asking Stanislav for money. Yes, I guess Stanny didn't tell the truth at first. When those people found out that they were going to kill Tony Stark, they immediately changed their minds. Link guided them and said, I guess only Stark knows what their specific thoughts were. But what happened over the past 3 months was a big shock to Stark, so he shut down the weapons department as soon as he came back. I also deduced some things based on some information before, so I made a lot of money by planning ahead. Carlson nodded slightly. After all, no one could have imagined that Stark would shut down the weapons department, and Link's actions did not arouse the suspicion of S.H.I.E.L.D. No one around Stark knows, so how could Link know? But Link's psychology is really amazing. This guy is already a billionaire. It is really unbelievable that he bought the bottom of Stark Industries stock and became the third largest shareholder. Your analysis makes sense, so we should keep an eye on Stanny. Carlson thought for a moment and asked, what will he do after he gets control? Think about what's in Stark's chest. Link reminded him, we don't know what it is, but Stark knows. So will he tell Stanny? You know, the relationship between them is very close. How will Stark Industries make money after losing the weapons department? Tony Stark is not a fool. He must have a backup plan. I guess it is new energy. I visited the Stark Industries factory today. The electromagnetic arc reactor they put there is very similar to the one on Stark's chest. Stark has mastered the new energy of the future. Carlson took a breath, so, if Stanny knew. Link immediately added, if he kills Stark now, he will have control of Stark Industries' weapons and energy. He doesn't need Stark anymore. The benefits are too great now. Besides, he has had this idea for a long time. Once he wins over everyone, it will be time for him to act. Chapter 54 Killed with one shot. It looks like we have to protect Stark. Carlson made up his mind. Link said, then you don't need to keep an eye on him. You just need to protect Stark. When he makes a move, just catch him. I don't have time to keep an eye on him. After all, I have a girlfriend, and she doesn't know that I work as an agent yet. Okay, you don't have to keep an eye on Stanny. I'll send someone to protect Stark. Carlson thought they had grasped the key point. Link's analysis made sense, and he now needed to report to the director. Link also thought that this was fine. After all, they were agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and since Stanny couldn't activate Ironmonger, he was just an ordinary person. After both parties hung up the phone, Link drove back to the villa, and the two tried a new way of exercise in the swimming pool at night. The water resistance is great, so they can try harder and even try it underwater. There was no need to carry out any missions next, so Link still used S.H.I.E.L.D's sports car to take Jessica on a tour around Los Angeles. It was their first time here, so naturally they wanted to have a good tour. Especially Hollywood. Link has no interest in investing in Hollywood because it is not a place that ordinary people can invest in. No matter how well a movie does at the box office, they can still make you lose money. So Link has no interest at all. But there are indeed a lot of beauties here, and Link just came to take a look. Jessica is the most suitable woman for him. They had a lot of fun, and half a month passed in the blink of an eye. That night they were watching the news at home. A golden and red steel armor appeared on the news. Iron Man appeared and went to Ethan's hometown to eliminate a group of terrorists. Link knew that Stanny would probably take action soon, and once he was caught, Link could take Jessica back to New York. Link, something happened. Carlson called one night. Link asked curiously, what is it? Stanny got Stark's energy source. Carlson said, come to Stark Industries factory immediately. We need you. Link didn't quite understand, how come? Don't ask, just come quickly. Carlson then hung up the phone, and the voice on the other end was very noisy. Link was speechless. He quickly stood up, said something to Jessica, then went to the storage room and took out a long box. He immediately drove out of the villa. The engine of the sports car roared as he left Beverly Hills. Driving at high speed all the way, the sports car in his hands reached various extreme performance levels. When he approached the factory, he heard a loud explosion ahead. Instead of moving forward, he looked at the surrounding buildings and drove straight towards a building. He got out of the car, carried the box and walked straight inside, took out his ID, then activated the controller, and the ID turned into an FBI one. He grabbed a security guard and said, FBI, I want to go to the rooftop immediately, quick. The security guard was stunned, then looked at his ID and nodded immediately. Then he took him to an elevator, entered the elevator, inserted the key, locked the elevator, and went straight to the top floor. Link came to the rooftop, opened the box, took out the sniper rifle inside and assembled it. He stood on the edge of the rooftop and aimed directly at the two Iron Men in the distance. Link couldn't figure out how Stanley broke through S.H.I.E.L.D.'s protection and got Stark's energy source. But he would not reveal his superpowers. Now let's see if the villain will die because of talking too much. The security guard stood behind him, looking at the Iron Man battle in the distance, and shrank his neck slightly in fear. Link did not chase him away because there was no need. After adjusting the optical sight, Link waited patiently. He did not need to consider wind speed, temperature, humidity, etc. He only needed to wrap the bullet with the biological force field. Finally, the two Iron Men landed on the roof of the factory. I don't know what Stark did, but Stanley opened his armor, revealing half of his body. Bang! Link pulled the trigger instantly. Stanley was talking nonsense at this time. I have never liked this kind of thing, but I have to say, I like this armor very much. Tony Stark was lying on top of the electromagnetic arc reactor, looking up at Stanley, and suddenly, Stanley's head exploded. Stark was shocked. OMG! Link put away his gun and took out his phone. Coulson, Stanley has been dealt with. You need to tell me later how you let him take the things. Okay, see you later. Coulson hung up the phone. Now was a good opportunity, an opportunity to get close to Stark. Link put away his phone, then loaded up his sniper rifle and looked up at the security guard. Good job, now let's go down. Don't tell anyone, wait for the press conference from Stark Industries. Okay, no problem sir. The security guard's eyes were full of admiration. He must be an elite FBI agent to be able to kill someone with just one shot from such a long distance. Link carried the box back to the car, started the car, turned around, and went straight back. Honey, what's in here? Jessica had a very detective mind. Some of Link's things were unreasonable, especially tonight. Just now Link left in a hurry with his things, and Jessica started watching TV. The battle between two Iron Men was hot news in Los Angeles, and the TV station would not miss this news. A lot of helicopters were dispatched, including those from various TV stations. Jessica also watched the live broadcast, but Link's sudden departure made the shrewd girl feel uneasy. This is a sniper rifle. Link opened the box generously. I'm an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Link took out his ID and handed it to Jessica, which caught her off guard. I don't suspect you of anything. She wanted to explain hurriedly, but Link laughed and said, you'll know sooner or later. You said you like to get to the bottom of things. I used to be a policeman. I was discovered by S.H.I.E.L.D. at a poker game in Las Vegas. They have been keeping an eye on Stark. I also considered it when recruiting me. I still have a relatively exciting job, but I don't want to expose my extraordinary qualities. Link then introduced what S.H.I.E.L.D. is, and finally said, joining them will help me understand the world while protecting my own secrets. Of course, if someone really threatens us, I will take action. Jessica felt relieved, hugged Link's waist and put her head on his chest. I will also train hard and not let myself become your weakness. Chapter 55 Return the Favor. Link stroked Jessica's hair before picking her up and rushing to the gym. What was happening outside had nothing to do with them. The two were fighting fiercely, and the rubber floor was used to absorb shock to prevent the noise from being too loud. The scene was cordoned off, and Tony Stark did not let Pepper Potts blow up the electromagnetic arc reactor, so the scene was not too bad. Coulson walked up and said, Mr. Stark, can we talk now? Next time. Stark opened his mouth to refuse. Mr. Stark, the public must be explained what happened here. Coulson said, my colleague just shot and killed Stanley. We need to find a cause of death for Mr. Stanley. Okay, tomorrow. Stark understood that the matter could not be concealed, after all, there were many helicopters in the sky. Okay, we'll handle the scene. Coulson nodded. The scene was quickly brought under control, and Ironmonger's armor was not blown up, but Stark had just dismantled the energy source, making Ironmonger ineffective. Coulson did not take it away directly, but asked someone to put it back to the factory. What they wanted was not a suit of armor. Nick Fury is not short-sighted. Many of his ideas are long-term enough, but the ideas are not backed up by the corresponding strength. His last trump card is to travel around the universe and never return to Earth. At the press conference the next day, Tony Stark announced that he was Iron Man. Link and Jessica were in the villa, hugging each other and curled up on the sofa, watching this scene. Jessica asked, "Will the stock go up?" "Yes, it will increase a lot in the future. We will make a fortune." Link laughed. "But we can pack up now. We are going back to New York." "Okay, there must be a lot of things accumulated in the Foundation." Jessica immediately stood up and hurried to pack her luggage. Link took out his phone and called Coulson. "Coulson, what's the situation?" "It was a mess, but fortunately, I finally had a chance to talk to this Iron Man." Coulson said, "But now it seems that we have the answer to how he escaped. What happens next needs to be decided by the director." Link said, "Then I'll go back to New York." Coulson said, "Mr. Stark wants to meet you. Although he denies it, you did save his life." "Okay, I haven't seen him for a long time." Link didn't object to the meeting. Coulson added, "He plans to send the armor made by Stanley to S.H.I.E.L.D., but he will only provide the finished product for energy manufacturing. Do you think it is possible for us to get the manufacturing method? Or maybe it's been researched." "Don't even think about it." Link directly rejected Coulson's idea. Energy is the core, so he won't be stingy with a set of armor. He definitely doesn't like that set of armor. Using it to repay a favor is the best choice. Don't think Stark is a fool. He is very smart, but a little cynical. He is too proud, and he just uses things he despises to repay favors. That makes sense. Coulson believed in Link's judgment. This young man's psychology was terrifying and he could see through everything. "Then tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, you go to Stark's house. He will treat you to lunch at his home. You can bring your girlfriend." "No problem." Link then hung up the phone. He didn't expect that Stark would give him the armor. This was a good choice. He now had another way of fighting. "Jessica." Link ran to Jessica and told her not to put all the things away because they had an appointment tomorrow. The next day, Link drove Jessica to Stark's house. The door opened automatically and the car drove in. When they arrived at the door of the villa, Pepper Potts was standing there waiting for them. After getting off the car, Pepper Potts was slightly stunned, and then asked, "Is it Miss Jones?" "Yes, Miss Potts." Jessica smiled and stretched out her hand. "The charity fund was established by my boyfriend. I am just responsible for the management." "I see. Welcome, please come in." Pepper Potts led them into the villa, and Tony Stark sat on the sofa with a glass of wine. After seeing Link, he was a little surprised. "Lin. It's me, Tony." Link came forward, "I was recruited after I came back from Las Vegas. I thought the job was interesting, so I accepted it. This really surprises me." Stark said in shock. Pepper Potts was also very surprised. "Do you know each other? By the way, this Mr. Lin is also the owner of a charity foundation, and his foundation also holds 10% of Stark Industries shares." Wow, Stark was even more surprised. "Come, let's have a good chat, you really have a lot of identities." They both sat down, Pepper poured them some wine, and Link introduced himself. After Stark heard this, he said, "Isn't it a waste for you to be an agent?" "No, I like this job. It's very interesting." Link said, "With Stark Industries stocks, I don't have to worry about money. I can do what I like. This job is very exciting. Also, thank you for the gift." "It's nothing." Stark waved his hand nonchalantly. "Now it seems like a good idea to give it to you. At least you are a shareholder, and a major shareholder. Your vision is very accurate. The stock price has now returned to its original price, but it will rise even more in the future. Of course, I'm optimistic about you." Link said, "And I will support you. The foundation will give you the voting rights of the board of directors later. This decision is absolutely correct. Let's start lunch." Stark was very satisfied. The four of them had lunch together, and then Link took Jessica away. The two of them drove straight home without talking more about the armor. Link didn't have any idea about the armor, and he didn't think much of this set of armor. Besides, there would be more trouble if he got the armor. He joined S.H.I.E.L.D., and even the future Avengers, not to become a superhero, but simply to understand the situation. It's good just like it is now, and Link guesses that Nick Fury will give this armor to Phil Coulson. This is a good result. After all, Nick Fury trusts Phil Coulson more, improves his fighting ability, and even lets him join the Avengers. This is a very good choice. Chapter 56 Punisher. Nick Fury knew that Tony Stark gave Ironmonger to them as a favor. Naturally, he was also thinking about the Iron Overlord, but Link was very useful, so he sent Phil Coulson to talk to Link. This is the first time I've been to your house since you moved in. These paintings look great. Coulson came to the door, but it was during the day. And Link smiled and said, you could actually come at night. Jessica already knows my job. After all, I was in a hurry that day. I even went out with a big box. No problem? Coulson asked. Of course no problem, she is still very reasonable. Link poured Coulson a glass of bourbon and handed him a cigar. This thing is not very useful, but Coulson can still accept it just for the taste. The two then came to the rooftop, basking in the sun, and Coulson said, Iron Overlord, how do you think we should deal with this? You can do whatever you want with it. I don't need it. Link said, but I hope you can prepare some equipment for me. After all, if I need to take action in the future, I will still need equipment support. The weapons I have here are not comprehensive. It would be best if they could move with me so that I can carry out any combat mission conveniently. Coulson also nodded and said, your shooting and throwing knives are too accurate. This will really help you to display your combat ability. I will coordinate this with the equipment department. Since you don't want to use it, then select someone from S.H.I.E.L.D. to use it. I think you're a good person. After all, you often go out on field missions, so you may be needed in the future. Link said, and I think the director trusts you very much. This armor must be modified according to the driver's body shape. Is there any problem with S.H.I.E.L.D.? Don't worry about that. Our technology is not that simple. Coulson said confidently, we will need to ask Mr. Stark for energy in the future. You may need to communicate with us at that time. No problem. Link raised his glass and agreed directly. Coulson was very quick and delivered a car to Link a week later. 3 of Link's 4 parking spaces were finally occupied, and Coulson sent a special agent car, a Chevrolet Suburban. This is a modified car with enhanced power and strong bulletproof capability. The front 4 doors and 5 seats have not changed much, but the back has been modified to become an arsenal. There are even several sets of combat suits. Link tried on the combat suit and found that it was probably improved upon Hawkeye's combat suit. Coulson introduced it to him. It's made of wear-resistant material. It has a general protective effect. Since you mainly use guns and throwing knives, there is also a matching tactical vest and holster. Also, there are a few boxes for throwing knives. I asked the technical department to make a few more for you. Link took a look and was quite satisfied. After all, without nanotechnology, he would not be able to make a nano battle suit even if he got vibranium. We can only wait for the future. Anyway, whether the bullet can hit him depends on whether he is willing to do so. Life is not peaceful, Wilson Fisk is in trouble. In Hell's Kitchen, a guy suddenly appears and attacks gang members with military weapons. This caused the already improved security in Hell's Kitchen to disappear again, and the gang members began to feel insecure. Even if Wilson Fisk suppressed them, they would go crazy facing the machine gun fire that could happen at any time. Lin, what do you think of this situation? Fisk approached Link. I believe that with your knowledge of psychology, you can definitely analyze something. Of course. Link nodded and said, this man is obviously seeking revenge. He probably lost an important relative or loved one, so he is so extreme. And looking at the force he used, it shows that he was a former soldier and someone important to him died at the hands of a gang member. Fisk agreed, but now he had a headache. He said, I can't suppress it anymore. After all, this concerns the life and death of those gangs and also disrupts the environment of Hell's Kitchen. I have to stop him. But it's not easy to find him now. He didn't have a specific target, but all gang members. Link thought for a moment and asked, so what does the FBI have to say? After all, this is not something the NYPD can solve. They are also investigating, but they haven't found anything. Fisk shook his head. And they have a lot of ideas. They hope to take this opportunity to get involved in Hell's Kitchen. They wanted to trade something with me. Link suddenly realized that most people didn't know Wilson Fisk's background, but the FBI definitely knew it. However, he has now changed his identity and started to expand his social influence. At the same time, his charity work is booming, which has given Fisk a protective color. He is no longer a simple criminal, and Fisk has made a cut, taking indirect measures to remotely control his power. However, Fisk must have a lot of criminal evidence of some people in New York, including evidence of illegal activities of some politicians and wealthy businessmen, as well as most of the intelligence on the underground world. The FBI hopes to gain something from this opportunity. They naturally don't want to get everything, but controlling Fisk is what they hope to do. Link thought for a moment and said, "I'll ask someone to come up with a solution. You wait for my news and try to suppress the gang members." "Okay, I'll try my best. I owe you a favor again." Fisk was very happy. He didn't expect that Link actually had a way. But Link's identity is different now. He is a billionaire and a shareholder of Stark Industries. He is much stronger than him in some aspects. Link said goodbye to Fisk and drove directly to Hell's Kitchen. He did not go to look for Phil Coulson because that was not a difficult task. He could easily find the Punisher, there was no need to guess, it must have been Frank Castle who did it. Only he could be so crazy, so it was not difficult to find him. It was too easy for Link. After eavesdropping on Hell's Kitchen, Link soon gained something. Frank Castle was preparing weapons for the next operation. Link quickly locked onto him, drove to his vicinity, got out of the car, and walked over to him. At this time, Frank Custer was on a rooftop, which was his favorite place to stay and few people usually came up there. Chapter 57 Frank Custer. He was very alert, and when he heard the door open, he took out a pistol and hid it behind his back, then quickly approached the door. Link pushed the door open and saw Frank Castle, who was blocking the doorway. "What do you want?" Link smiled and said, "You live on the rooftop?" "Yes, this is my territory. I don't allow anyone to enter." Frank Castle was like a homeless person who wanted to occupy the rooftop here as his own residence. Link didn't intend to beat around the bush and said directly, "The Beret AS-50 sniper rifle you provided last time is very useful, and the large-bore bullets are very much to my liking." The Punisher's pupil shrank, and he immediately pulled out his right hand hidden behind his back and pointed the pistol at Link's head. Link didn't move at all, still looking at the other person with a smile, which made Frank Castle a little confused. Link said, "Relax. If I were here to deal with you, you would have been dead long ago. I just wanted to talk to you." "What?" Frank asked. Link looked at the other person and asked, "Is that all we need to talk about?" Frank took a few steps back and made way for the door. Link walked onto the rooftop and closed the door. He observed the situation on the rooftop and leaned against the door instead of going inside. "Let's talk about your recent actions. You have affected the law and order of Hell's Kitchen," Link said. Frank was stunned, then asked sarcastically, "Are you from the NYPD or the FBI? Last time you used my sniper rifle to smash a man to pieces." "Yes." Link nodded and admitted, "That was an unofficial operation. If you can get detailed intelligence, then you should be able to understand the situation on the scene. The person I shot was not an ordinary person. He could control others through words and make them do whatever they wanted. This person has always been very secretive, because most people don't remember being controlled by him. Even if they do remember, their memories are very vague and they are completely unaware that they were controlled. Even if someone says it, no one will believe it." Frank was stunned when he heard this. "Is there such a person?" "This man is codenamed Purple Man, his real name is Zeeb Diakilgrav. His parents are scientists, and they used him for experiments." Link said, "Due to an accident, a virus was created, and anyone who gets close to him will be infected with the virus and obey his orders. I believe you understand how dangerous this person is." Frank was very confused and asked, "So you are really from the government? Can I have my ID?" Link opened his suit jacket and Frank nodded. Link reached out and pulled out his ID, then opened it. Frank didn't recognize the SHIELD logo. And Link said, "The Strategic Homeland Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency does not belong to the government, but is a global agency that specializes in dealing with these special people and items. So there are a lot of people like this." Although Frank didn't know this organization, he didn't think Link lied because there was no need. Wilson Fisk is now known as the Kingpin, which is what the Hell's Kitchen gang calls him, and no one like him would use such an excuse to approach him. Instead, we should use force directly to eliminate him. Not many, but not few either. Link said, "Some people abide by the law and even uphold justice, like the guy who likes to come out at night." "Aha, I know, people call him Daredevil, but he has disappeared now." Frank naturally knew Daredevil. It's not that he disappeared. Rather, what he hoped to see happened. That is, the safety of Hell's Kitchen has been improved and some criminal activities have been reduced. Link explained, of course, your affairs are not actually under the jurisdiction of our department. I just admire you as a person. Will you let me join you? Frank asked. Of course not. You don't meet our needs. Link shook his head. I just sympathize with your personal experience and admire you as a person. Sympathy. Frank smiled bitterly. If you are so powerful, why don't you fight crime? Link shook his head and said, our organization is affiliated with the World Security Council and is the defense line of the Earth, so we don't target ordinary criminals. You have to know that aliens are more difficult to deal with. Aliens. The news Frank heard today was enough to shock him for the whole year. Are you really not kidding? Of course not, otherwise what are we defending against? Link spread his hands. Aliens arrived on Earth a long time ago and used humans for experiments. And then they go away and throw away things that are insignificant to them but deadly to us. An alien bacteria that, once spread, can kill all humans in the world, or even an alien energy that can blow up the entire Earth. The most important thing is that some aliens have stayed, their lifespans are very long, and they are still hiding among humans. These are the problems we need to deal with, why don't we just deal with ordinary crime? Frank then asked, if you are so busy, why are you targeting me? It was Fisk. Wilson Fisk found me. Link said directly and frankly. Frank's hand holding the gun tightened again, don't be nervous. Link continued, my cover identity is a professional gambler. I was recruited by accident because I am good at firearms and psychology. I joined halfway. I was a NYPD before. After the internship, I was assigned to the West Central City Police Station. You should have heard that I shot and killed more than 20 gang members. Frank suddenly realized that he had said that an Asian police officer shot and killed more than 20 people and was subsequently wanted by the Irish gang. As a result, he was attacked by the NYPD and fell. However, the Asian police officer disappeared afterwards and it turned out that he had been recruited. Fisk's current transformation is my idea, and Hell's Kitchen is slowly reducing its crime rate. He asked me to analyze your mental state, so I made an excuse and took over your work. Frank asked, you want to stop me? Yes, you did this just for revenge. But you chose the wrong target. Link said, you thought it was a gang fight that affected your family, but that was just a cover-up. In fact, their real target is your family. What? Frank was stunned. Are you sure? Chapter 58 Enemy. I'm sure. Link nodded. You're just paying the price for your mistakes. Think about what you found in the army. Frank was stunned. He recalled many things in an instant. I don't know the specific situation. I just have some doubts. Yes, just some doubts, but those people will not let you go. Link said, Billy Russell, William Roslin. They used the bodies of soldiers to transport the confiscated drugs back home. I believe you should be aware of the profits involved. We cannot allow even the slightest crisis to exist. You knew there was a problem, but you covered it up. That was your mistake. Frank finally put down the gun in his hand, or to be exact, the gun slipped down. He knelt on the ground with his hands on his head. Link could guess his mood at this moment. Link did not go over to comfort him, but just let this tough guy kneel there and cry silently. It was indeed his fault. He clearly discovered that there was a problem, but he did not delve into it further because he valued brotherhood. He underestimated the greed in human nature. He thought that if he left, everything would be over, but the profit was too huge. This was a business with almost no cost. How could the other party be willing to give up such a huge profit? Frank's existence was a hidden danger, so he had to be eliminated. As a result, he did not die, even after being shot in the head. His tenacious vitality kept him alive, but he went in the wrong direction. He originally wanted to use legal means to punish the gang members who killed his family, but the result was not good. He then used his own method, but he was going in the wrong direction, making it very difficult for him to take revenge. Link took out a cigarette, lit it, and smoked it slowly, just watching quietly. After a long time, the other party finally recovered his mood. Frank stood up slowly and said, I won't go on. Thank you for the information. Turning around, he was about to pack up his weapons. Link thought about whether he should help Frank. After all, he was an outstanding talent. Although Link didn't want to drag him into joining S.H.I.E.L.D., as a deputy, this was a good choice. Especially for the protection of Jessica, it can also act as your other hand when necessary. Having a strong fighting force to serve you is also a good choice. Link said, I can help you, but I want you to work for me in the future. Work for you? Frank was stunned and turned to look at Link. What? Help you kill people? Maybe. Link said, my cover identity is a professional gambler, but that was in the past. Now I have made a lot of money and invested in voting. Now I am one of the major shareholders of Stark Industries, owning 10% of the shares. I established a charitable foundation and acquired a law firm to provide legal assistance to disadvantaged groups. Frank was stunned. He didn't expect that the person in front of him was actually a billionaire. Then why are you still in that bureau? Frank didn't quite understand. Now that I know the truth about the world, I naturally want to continue to understand it. This kind of life is more meaningful. Link said, my girlfriend Jessica is in charge of a charity fund. Although this kind of legal aid is a charity, it still has dangers. Especially when it comes to supporting the disadvantaged, the people you face are not simple people. I need you to be her bodyguard, protect her safety, and participate in the investigation of the case when necessary. I believe this is to your liking, isn't it? Frank nodded and said, okay, but how are you going to help me? First, capture Billy Russell. He and your previous comrades are participants. Most of those who did not participate are already dead. Link said, then there is William Roslin. Although he is from the CIA, it will not be difficult for me to capture him. Okay, but I want to deal with them myself. Frank's hatred became even more intense. It's a deal. Now pack up and let's go. Link made the invitation. Frank packed up his weapons, and the two men carried the things down and loaded them into Frank's car. Then Link drove to lead the way and they went straight to Link's home. There was one parking space left among the four, just enough for Frank's car, and the two of them went upstairs. Link took out his laptop, logged into the database, and quickly found Billy Russell. It was easy to capture him, but the two still made a plan. To capture all of them, they needed to secretly capture Billy Russell first. Frank didn't have the patience to wait, so Link had to set off again with him. They each drove a car, and Link gave Frank a walkie-talkie as a means of communication, and they exchanged phone numbers. The two men took turns tracking Billy Russell and found him easily. This guy is now the owner of a company and even provides donations to the military service center. The information Link obtained is very detailed. So, it's not difficult to find him. By using the alternating tracking method, it was very easy to keep an eye on Billy Russell, and neither of them needed to look for evidence. Link is no longer the NYPD, and there is no need to resort to legal action, so they tracked each other directly to their homes. Link turned on his X-Vision and discovered that there was no security system or surveillance system here. But it makes sense when you think about it. First of all, this is America, and there aren't many burglaries because most people don't have cash in their homes. Secondly, Billy Russell is a retired Marine and now runs a private military and security company called Chopping Block. Finally, what he did was shameful, and installing these things at home might just cause trouble for himself. Action, you go to the front and knock on the door, I'll come in from the back. Link notified Frank using the intercom, then got out of the car and ran to the back door himself. At the same time, he was observing the surroundings to see if there was anyone there. Billy Russell's house is really nice. It is located in a wealthy area and the neighbors are far away from each other. This made their actions easier. Link didn't notice any surveillance cameras pointed at him, so he climbed in directly from the backyard. At this time, Frank had already pressed the doorbell. Billy Russell came to the door and was surprised to see that it was Frank after opening it. Frank? Billy Russell's voice was obviously shocked. Billy. Frank looked at the other man, I need your help with something. Come in. Billy Russell immediately made way for the door. Chapter 59 Billy Russell. Billy Russell let Frank into his house. When he closed the door, his face changed several times and he was full of doubts. Why did the other party suddenly come to his house? He couldn't help but be suspicious. Then he turned around and was about to ask something, but when he turned around he saw Frank pointing a gun at his head. Billy Russell was sure that the other party knew something. Frank? He was about to speak when he saw an Asian man walking up from behind Frank, obviously entering through the back door. 1 against 2, my chances of winning are slim. Billy Russell's mind was constantly calculating how to get out of the current predicament. And Link said at this time, Frank, let's interrogate him in the bathroom of his house. Then burn this place down and destroy all evidence. Frank nodded and said, okay. Billy Russell panicked, stepped back, and immediately said, Frank, we are friends. Yes, friend. Frank said in a hoarse voice, because we were friends, I only beat William Rawlins. Of course, I blinded one of his eyes, but I left. But you are not going to let me go. My wife, son, and daughter are all dead, just because I care about brotherhood. Bang! Frank went up and punched Billy Russell directly in the face, but the opponent did not fall down. There was the door behind him, so he leaned against it, then kicked his legs and pounced directly at Frank. This was his only chance. The Asian stranger was not armed, so Frank's pistol was his chance. However, although he was fast, Link was even faster. Swoosh! At some point, a willow leaf flying knife appeared in Link's right hand and stabbed directly into Billy Russell's ankle. Ah! Frank paused in his forward movement, became even more angry, and hit the opponent's head again with the butt of his pistol. Then he grabbed his collar and dragged him away. Link followed behind, watching his feet carefully, avoiding the blood, and taking back the flying knife. When he came to the bathroom, Frank turned on the violent mode and soon he asked for a lot of information. Billy Russell has been begging Frank to let him go, but because of the hatred of his entire family, Frank turned into a punisher, but in fact he is an avenger. When Frank came out covered in blood, he glanced at Link and said, "Thank you." His voice was extremely hoarse and his eyes were red. Link looked at Frank and said, "There's a bathroom upstairs, go wash up and change clothes. I'll go get ready. This place needs to be blown up." Okay. Frank went upstairs without delay, while Link came to the kitchen, turned on the gas, opened the microwave, took out one of his spare magazines, took out a few bullets from it and threw them in. After waiting for a while, Frank came down and nodded to Link. Link started the microwave, and the two separated, walking out the front and back doors again, getting in the car and leaving. Link set the microwave oven to start heating after an hour, and then the bullet detonated, causing the house, which had already been filled with gas, to explode instantly. Boom! Most houses in the United States are made of wood. The explosion directly tore the house apart, followed by a fire that burned at a high speed. Remember, the gas was turned on before. The fire instantly grew larger and engulfed the house, and everything inside was set on fire. Link and Frank have been gone for a long time, and their next target is William Roslin. In the entire criminal process, William Roslin is the leader, while Billy Russell is relatively just a small role. What about William Roslin? How much has he mastered? The two of them temporarily returned to Link's home. Frank will stay here today. After all, he has no place to stay now, and he doesn't want to go back to his own home. Do you want to kill all these people, or just William Roslin? Link poured 2 glasses of wine and handed one to Frank. Frank said, "I only need William Roslin. As for the people and things behind him, we don't seem to be able to deal with them." Link smiled and said, "You are very rational. This is not bad. Maybe the CIA is behind you. They may allow you to take revenge, but they will not allow you to destroy their business. The CIA needs a lot of money overseas. They make counterfeit money, sell drugs, etc. The profit chain of these guys is very huge. Even if SHIELD wants to deal with them, it's not easy. These people are more terrifying than the gangsters. If they have a sin value, they must be higher than Wilson Fisk." Frank laughed at himself and said, "When I joined the army, I thought I was fighting for my country, but now it seems that I am not. Isn't it unfair for those comrades who died?" "No." Link shook his head and said, "At least from the packaging point of view, they died for their country." Link didn't want to continue complaining. That was the nature of the Americans. No matter how much he said, it was useless and it wouldn't change anything. "Okay, I'll be responsible for tracking William Roslin, and you go find yourself a nice apartment nearby." Link said, "Buy yourself some suits and stuff, after all, the charity foundation is my face. The driver's name is Robert McCall. You know where the car is parked. Just come before 9 o'clock every morning." Link took out a checkbook and wrote a check to Frank. This was his resettlement fee. "As for weapons, I will apply for a legal Glock 17 and a bulletproof vest for you." "Okay, I'm leaving first. Frank didn't plan to spend the night here, so he got up and said goodbye. Link didn't try to stop him. He walked him to the door and let him take the elevator directly to the underground parking lot. After Jessica came back in the evening, Link told her about Frank. Jessica had no objection and thought that the bodyguard Link found for her should be quite capable. They both need to conceal their abilities, so having a bodyguard who can handle the problem is the best. Jessica easily accepted Link's arrangement. After all, it was all for her own good. Such a boyfriend made her sister Tracy very jealous. She even claimed that she wanted to compete with her for him when she stayed at Tracy's house a few days ago. Link used his laptop to search for William Rossland's whereabouts, using the SHIELD system, and it was easy to find him. This guy is actually in New York, and he just arrived to investigate the death of Billy Russell. Chapter 60 Psychological Offensive. It is true that if you don't take the road to heaven, you will end up in hell. This guy was obviously worried that their affairs would be exposed, so he came to see if there was any evidence left, and at the same time investigate the cause of Billy Russell's death. Although burned, after the autopsy, it was easy to find out what had happened to Billy Russell. However, the autopsy has not started yet. There are not many coroners in the United States and they are very scarce. There are also many homicide cases here, and the coroners are too busy to handle it. William Rossling doesn't have that much patience, but he's the CIA, and here in New York, the NYPD doesn't care about him. This made William Rossland very anxious. He was now a middle-level official in the CIA, but he was still useless in New York. They had no power to enforce the law in the country, and they couldn't even bring the case over. He was in a dilemma at this time, but this gave Link and Frank an opportunity. The next morning, after Jessica left the apartment, Link called Frank over. Frank came on foot. His previous car was stolen and now it has been disposed of. The two got into Link's SUV. Frank looked curiously at the small arsenal of weapons in the back and asked in surprise, "Is this your equipment?" "Yes, my public identity was originally a professional gambler. I once fought a game with a high table. People called me the god of death." Link said while driving, "I am good at shooting and throwing knives, and I am very accurate. So the Bureau got me this car, which is a mobile weapons depot, and all these guns are given to me to use. Of course, these are recorded, so I used a flying knife yesterday, which is convenient for recovery and does not leave too many traces." Frank nodded and said, "I see. I still have quite a few weapons, but most of them are military. If you need any, you can tell me." "Okay, I won't be polite with you. After all, I helped you a lot." Link smiled and then said, "Rossland is in New York. He is here to deal with Russell's matter, but he is waiting for the autopsy now. I have found his location. I am going to take him away now. But do you have any place I can use?" "Yes, there are many bankrupt small factories in New York, and they are now abandoned. We can just pick one." Frank said, "But how do we get rid of him? He is probably very alert now. It's not easy to take him away quietly." "Don't worry." Link said, "Leave it to me. Just stay in the car and don't let him see you. I'll take care of the rest." Soon, they drove to the hotel where William Rossland lived. Link looked and found that William Rossland was getting ready to go out. He sat in the car without moving, and Frank sat in the back seat with a gun in his hand. Link used X-ray vision to observe the target's movements, and when he was about to walk out of the hotel, Link got out of the car and greeted him. "Agent William Rossland." Link blocked the other person's way and asked. William Rossland came alone. Although he is now a mid-level official in the CIA, what happened between him and Billy Russell is a secret and cannot be easily known. "Who are you?" Rossland looked at Link warily. Link pulled out a book of documents. "FBI, we need to talk about Billy Russell." "I don't think we have anything to talk about." Rossland didn't want to talk at all. "Really?" Link laughed and asked, "Then why are you, a CIA, here to investigate his cause of death? Is it related to what you did in the Middle East?" As soon as these words were spoken, William Rossland had to take them seriously. He frowned and looked at Link, saying, "We have only cooperated overseas. This time, I came here to report his death in a private capacity. Besides, overseas affairs are not your business." "Indeed." Link nodded, and then said, "We don't care what you do overseas, but are you just overseas? We need your cooperation in this matter. If something comes to the point of tearing each other's faces apart, then we will not be polite." I don't know you. Rosalind wanted to deny. Link interrupted him directly, Corpse, do you want me to say anything more? You brought the things back to the country, so does that mean they are within our jurisdiction? William Rosalind subconsciously looked around and didn't find anything strange. He then looked at Link again, so you want to investigate me? Not yet. Link said, we don't know who is involved in this matter, but it's not something you can do alone. How far the investigation will go depends on what my superiors think. William Rosalind frowned tightly, he was very panicked, and this was also Link's plan. The location he chose was from an angle with no surveillance cameras around, and these were what he observed after he parked the car just now. Including the place where he parked his car. There is little surveillance in the United States, but there is surveillance inside the hotel where the other party lives, so Link cannot go in to look for him. Link was not in a hurry. After all, William Rosalind came to New York to find out the situation. He couldn't stay in the hotel all the time. He would keep urging the autopsy. And now, he is conducting a psychological attack, using the seriousness of the matter to destroy the opponent's psychological defenses, making him lose the ability to think, and thus achieving the purpose of his guidance. Link didn't give the other party too much time. After seeing his expression and judging his mental state, he said, can you come with us? Billy Russell's body was taken away by us last night and an autopsy was performed. His final experience was not good. What? Rosalind became even more nervous. Come with us and we can give you a copy of the autopsy report, but we need to make an offer in exchange. Link said in a transactional tone, as for whether the offer should be discussed between us or with the people above, we can't decide. Also, who did it and what specific intelligence was obtained? This is the key point and it is also our mission. Rosalind nodded and said, okay, I'll go with you. I want to see the autopsy report first. No problem, but I don't think it's possible to tell anything from the technique, because it was done purely to vent anger. Link turned around and led the way, while continuing to speak to distract the other party. End of this chapter. Like and subscribe for more chapters.